Chapter 56-62. So many experts were killed in the blink of an eye. Everyone's face revealed an expression of disbelief. When everyone looked at Lin Feng, it was as if they were looking at a god. Lin Feng was so young. If Lin Feng was a cultivator who had cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, or even tens of millions of years, they wouldn't be so shocked. The key was that Lin Feng was only 200 years old. Sometimes, one couldn't help but sigh. Some people really couldn't be looked at like ordinary people. And Lin Feng was such a person. Thinking that someone like Lin Feng had an extremely deep relationship with their extreme ancient emperor's bloodline, these people became extremely happy. If they had such a person as their enemy, it would be an extremely terrifying thing. Lin Feng refined the blood left behind by the dead experts into source energy and then handed it over to Du Zhu and the evil sovereign sage. He couldn't use these sources, but Du Zhu and the evil sovereign sage could. Lin Feng said, "These three forces have experts at the peak of the sage realm or at the quasi-transcendence realm. If these experts come, the situation will become extremely dangerous. We can't stay here any longer. Let's leave this place now." Lin Feng was more cautious about this matter. However, it was necessary to be cautious. If a peak of the sage realm or a quasi-transcendence realm cultivator came with a group of experts, Lin Feng might be held back. Although there were still 56 undead creatures, who knew how strong they were? What if the other party sent 2 experts at this level? The other expert would be enough to hold back those undead creatures. When the time came, what about the rest? The rest of them would definitely die. It was precisely because of this consideration that it was indeed time to evacuate. Everyone knew that they couldn't stay here any longer. Everyone nodded. Then, Lin Feng summoned the Xinyuan Ancient Starry Sky Ship. Seeing that everyone had boarded the Xinyuan Ancient Starry Sky Ship, Lin Feng started the ancient ship. The Xinyuan Ancient Starry Sky Ship directly jumped into the void and left this place. They quickly flew in the direction of Panyang Lake. In the depths of Panyang Lake, in an area filled with white fog, this area was densely covered with many horrifying restrictive spells. It was known as one of the most dangerous areas in Panyang Lake. Currently, the ancient demon clan, the lost race of the epoch, and the Kinwu people were all here. In total, there were more than 2,000 people. They arrived at this place. Among these people, there was an expert at the peak of the Sage Realm. In addition, there were 2 other Sage Realm cultivators. Therefore, there were a total of 3 Sage Realm cultivators. There were about 200 to 300 true immortals while the rest were false immortals. At this moment, many cultivators stopped outside the white fog and looked coldly at the area shrouded in white fog. The leading elder was an elite of the Kinwu people. His name was the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. He was the cultivator at the peak of the Sage Realm. It was said that he was an elite from the immortal ancient era. From this, one could see how ancient he was. In the past, he had always sealed himself in a divine stone. During the long years, his lifespan did not decrease. It was only at the end of the epoch that he broke the seal and walked out of his sealed state. As for the other 2 Sage Realm experts, one was from the ancient demon clan and the other was from the lost race of the epoch. The cultivator from the lost race of the epoch asked, "My lord, when do we make our move?" The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor said, "Let's do it now. Everyone, follow behind me." The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor took the lead and flew toward the white fog. The Golden Crow Ancient Monarch had a unique understanding of formations and restrictions. Although the restrictive formations and restrictions here were terrifying, the Golden Crow Ancient Monarch had led a group of experts to successfully pass through the restrictive formations and restrictions. An island appeared in the depths of the restrictive spells. They could vaguely see the figures of some cultivators appearing on the island. They are indeed hiding here. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's eyes flashed with a chilling killing intent. They had actually found the cultivators who had escaped from the ancestral land of the great Ancient Emperor. These experts quickly flew toward the island. The cultivators on the island clearly noticed the group of uninvited guests and shouted loudly. Everyone from the great Ancient Emperor's bloodline was alarmed. Currently, there were about 4,000 to 5,000 people in the Taiyan Ancient Emperor's clan. However, apart from the old and weak cultivators, there were only about 2,000 people who could fight. Among these 2,000 people, Only a portion of them were elite cultivators. Although the rest of them were not weak, they were still a far cry from the experts who had come to the Taiyan ancient emperor. Therefore, after the battle broke out, the great ancient emperor's bloodline suffered heavy casualties. At this moment, 3 Sage Realm experts were jointly attacking the great mystery ancient emperor. The great mystery ancient emperor had not been able to recover from his injuries. Now that he was being attacked by 3 Sage Realm experts, one of whom was at the peak of the Sage Realm, one could imagine how much pressure the great mystery ancient emperor was under. At this moment, an ancient demon expert locked his eyes on a woman. He sneered at her and said, "You must be the daughter of the great ancient emperor, Princess Yao Yao, right?" The ancient demon cultivator's eyes were extremely evil. He was at the peak of the true immortal realm and was not far away from breaking through to the sage realm. This ancient demon clan cultivator was one of the ancient demon clan cultivators who had been suppressed by the lunar ancient monarch. Although he had managed to escape, his hatred for the lunar ancient monarch had never disappeared, just like his clansmen. Now, he no longer had the chance to take revenge on the great ancient emperor. However, when he saw the great ancient emperor's daughter, the ancient demon became excited. If he could kill the great ancient emperor's daughter, it would be considered as revenge. Chapter 56-63. The woman targeted by the ancient demon clan cultivator was indeed Princess Yao Yao. The current Princess Yao Yao had already grown into a beautiful woman. Her long white dress accentuated her graceful figure, and coupled with her delicate and beautiful face, she was definitely the best of the best. She could be described as a peerless beauty. Princess Yao Yao did not deny her identity. Even if she did, her opponent would not believe her. She said coldly, "That's right. I'm the daughter of the ancient emperor of Taiyan. Die." The ancient devil charged towards Princess Yao Yao and sent a palm strike at her. Princess Yao Yao's expression was cold. She didn't retreat and sent a palm strike towards the ancient devil clan cultivator. Their attacks collided fiercely. As the daughter of an ancient sacred emperor, Princess Yao Yao's bloodline was extremely powerful. Her cultivation was also very terrifying. Princess Yao Yao was not at a disadvantage after colliding with the ancient demon. In fact, Princess Yao Yao had just broken through to the Tao immortal realm. There was still a certain gap between her and the ancient demon. However, Princess Yao Yao's bloodline was too powerful. Therefore, she was not at a disadvantage at all. The key problem was that the opponent had more people. 2 ancient demon cultivators, a Kinwu people expert, and a cultivator from the epic Lost Race flew over. A total of 5 cultivators attacked Princess Yao Yao together. Their joint attack was naturally extremely powerful. Princess Yao Yao, under the siege of the 5 experts, suddenly became somewhat flustered. At the same time, Ancient Emperor of Taishan was severely injured. He was sent flying by Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow. He was already injured. After being hit by Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow, his injuries worsened. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face became even paler. Ancient Emperor of Taishuan's situation was extremely bad. Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow said proudly, "Ancient Emperor of Taishan, your time is up today." After he said that, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor joined forces with the other 2 sacred powerhouses and charged towards the mysterious Ancient Emperor once again. The mysterious Ancient Emperor looked at his tribesmen dying around him with a sorrowful expression. He wanted to save his tribesmen, but he was unable to do so. Ancient Emperor of Taishan was extremely powerful when he was at his peak. Although there was still a gap between him and an ancient sacred emperor, Ancient Emperor of Taishan was still a peak figure below the ancient sacred emperor. Now that he was old and weak, he naturally could not be compared to the past. Now, he could not even protect his own people. Ancient Emperor of Taishuan's bloodline was about to be destroyed. Ancient Emperor of Taishuan's heart was filled with endless sorrow, said the ancient emperor furiously. "Today, even if I have to die, I'll drag you down to hell with me." The great mystery ancient emperor wanted to burn his own origin to increase his battle strength. However, at that moment, a voice suddenly rang out. "Senior, you don't have to do this. Since I am here, no one can destroy Ancient Emperor of Taishuan's bloodline." Ancient Emperor of Taishan looked to his right. He did not know when a young man had appeared. That young man stood proudly in the void and looked coldly at the three sacred emperors. Ancient Emperor of Taishan was shocked. He did not know when this young man had appeared. It seemed that this person was extremely skilled in the Tao of space. This young man was none other than Lin Feng. Fortunately, Lin Feng had arrived in time. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Big Brother Feng, Princess Yao Yao, who was surrounded, was extremely surprised when she saw Lin Feng. Although more than 200 years had passed, Lin Feng's appearance was still deeply imprinted in Princess Yao Yao's mind. She would never forget it. Surprisingly, Lin Feng had appeared there. Princess Yao Yao had never thought that he would appear there. Lin Feng also saw Princess Yao Yao. Of course, the current Princess Yao Yao was completely different from the Princess Yao Yao of the past. After all, Princess Yao Yao was only a little girl back then. Now, she was so beautiful. Lin Feng said, "Yao Yao, don't worry. I will protect you. I will also protect your people. As long as I am here, no one can bully you in the future. Those who bullied you, I will make sure that they die without a burial place." After hearing Lin Feng's words, Princess Yao Yao quickly nodded. Although Lin Feng's words sounded unbelievable, Princess Yao Yao did not doubt Lin Feng's words at all. "Brat, who do you think you are? How dare you say such arrogant words here?" Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow looked coldly at Lin Feng. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Obviously, he did not take Lin Feng seriously. In fact, it was normal. Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow was a terrifying existence. How could he take a very young cultivator like Lin Feng seriously? Lin Feng did not say much to Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow. He directly summoned the Book of the Dead. 56 Sage Realm undead spirits flew out from the Book of the Dead. Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow narrowed his eyes when he sensed the aura of the 56 undead spirits. He naturally sensed the powerful cultivation of those undead spirits. Therefore, he was very surprised that Lin Feng could summon 56 Sage Realm undead spirits. Sage Realm undead spirits. Princess Yao Yao could not help but exclaim. Lin Feng actually summoned 56 Sage Realm undead spirits at once. Regardless of whether these Sage Realm undead spirits could defeat Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow, who was at the peak of the Sage Realm. However, the 56 Sage Realm undead spirits summoned by Lin Feng could at least help them resolve today's crisis. When the cultivators of Great Ancient Emperor saw the 56 Sage Realm undead spirits, they were originally extremely desperate. Now that they saw hope, they all erupted with extremely terrifying combat strength. The strongest undead spirit is only at the 7th heavenly layer of the Sage Realm. It's too weak compared to me. I can deal with all of them by myself. Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow was extremely proud. His cultivation was indeed very powerful. He also had the right to be proud. He might really have a way to deal with the 56 undead spirits. However, Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow neglected Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered and said, "Your opponent is me." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng immediately flew toward Ancient Emperor of Golden Crow and punched him. Chapter 56-64. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor had never taken Lin Feng seriously. Therefore, when he saw Lin Feng take the initiative to attack him, he immediately revealed a look of disdain. Even the Ancient Emperor of Great Mystery, Princess Yao Yao, and the others did not understand why Lin Feng would take the initiative to attack the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. In their opinion, Lin Feng should let the undead deal with the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor instead of himself. After all, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was at the peak of the Sage stage. No matter how strong Lin Feng's cultivation was, it was impossible for him to defeat an expert at the peak of the Sage stage. In many people's opinion, Lin Feng was basically throwing an egg at a rock. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor sneered, "Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." As soon as he finished speaking, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor attacked Lin Feng with his palm. At that moment, Lin Feng used the power of the ruler's armor, the Golden Dwarf, the Magic Lotus, the Holy Bone, Panga's Mark, and the Stone Golem clone on his body. His battle strength had reached the peak. Moreover, Lin Feng also took out the Phoenix Shield. He held the Phoenix Shield in his left hand. This way, the defensive power of the Phoenix Shield could greatly reduce the damage caused by the opponent's attack. Bang! Along with the sound of the violent collision, there was a loud bang. Lin Feng and the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor collided fiercely. Everyone saw an unbelievable scene. Lin Feng was actually evenly matched with the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. Many people thought that they had lived for a long time, because Lin Feng was only a young cultivator who had lived for more than 200 years. But he was actually evenly matched with an expert at the peak of the sage stage. This kind of method was really shocking. It was like a dream. Even Princess Yao Yao also showed an extremely shocked expression. Soon, Princess Yao Yao smiled. Big Brother Feng is too powerful. Princess Yao Yao was very happy. In her opinion, no matter how extraordinary something happened to Big Brother Feng, it was very normal. Her Big Brother Feng could definitely do something that others could not do. How is this possible? The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's face was filled with disbelief. It was because Lin Feng was too young. Even if Lin Feng had used some other means to increase his combat strength, he shouldn't be able to fight evenly with him. Lin Feng coldly laughed as he said, "Nothing is impossible. I'll send you to hell very soon." Lin Feng charged towards the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor again. Of course, Lin Feng knew this as well. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was too powerful. Therefore, it would be rather difficult to kill him. What Lin Feng wanted to do now was not to kill the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor immediately. Instead, it was to stall the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. The 56 undead summoned by Lin Feng joined the battle of the ordinary cultivators. 56 undead spirits of the Sage Realm. What kind of terrifying existence was that? After they joined the battle, the other side did not have any top powerhouses to hold back the 56 undead. Therefore, there was a drastic change in the battle. The cultivators of the three factions who had the absolute upper hand were immediately scattered by the 56 undead spirits. At this moment, the profound Ancient Emperor was holding back the Sage Realm powerhouses of the Ancient Demon Clan and the Lost Epic Clan. Although the profound Ancient Emperor was injured, he had no problem holding back these two Sage Realm powerhouses. A seventh heaven undead spirit of the Sage Realm charged towards the 5 powerhouses who were besieging Princess Yao Yao. This undead spirit was obviously an extremely smart fellow. He could tell that Lin Feng and Princess Yao Yao were very close, so he took the lead to save Princess Yao Yao. Seeing this powerful undead spirit flying towards them, the 5 powerhouses at the peak of the true immortal realm were scared out of their wits. No matter how confident they were in themselves, even if they were confident, they did not think that they could resist such a terrifying powerhouse. They all fled into the distance, but this 7th heaven undead spirit of the Sage Realm did not give them a chance to escape. A large amount of death aura surged over. It directly enveloped the 5 powerhouses at the peak of the true immortal realm. Miserable screams rang out. The 5 powerhouses at the peak of the true immortal realm were all killed. Then, this undead spirit directly devoured their flesh and soul essence. This was because the cultivation of these undead spirits would greatly increase by devouring the flesh and soul essence of various living beings. In addition, devouring other special heavenly treasures could also continuously increase their cultivation. They were no longer simple undead spirits. When their cultivation reached this level, they were equivalent to corpse cultivators. Therefore, they were able to continuously improve their cultivation like ordinary cultivators. Moreover, among these 7th heaven undead spirits, one of them was about to break through to the 8th heaven Sage Realm. If he could break through, it would be an extremely good thing for Lin Feng. This was because Lin Feng would have an 8th heaven undead spirit of the Sage Realm under his command. This was an extremely terrifying existence. With the addition of these undead spirits, the cultivators of the 3 major forces kept dying. Many people wanted to escape, but in the face of so many undead spirits of the Sage Realm, they simply had no chance to escape. At this moment, the ancient starship Xianyuan quickly flew over from afar. After seeing the battle here, the cultivators on the ancient starship flew out one after another. Then, they joined the battle. With the addition of these experts, the other party could not hold on any longer. Not long later, More than 2,000 cultivators of the three major forces were all killed. Only 3 Sage Realm cultivators were left. The 3 Sage Realm cultivators' faces were extremely ugly. This time, their losses were too heavy. They wanted to quickly get rid of their opponents and escape from this place. After escaping, they would invite experts who had surpassed their cultivation level to deal with Lin Feng and the people of the Taiyan ancient emperor's bloodline. At that time, everyone would definitely die. Although their wishful thinking was extremely good, Lin Feng did not give them a chance to escape. The Golden Crow ancient emperor was held back by Lin Feng. He tried to get rid of Lin Feng again and again but failed. The other 2 Sage Realm experts were held back by the Taishan ancient emperor and could not escape. The 56 undead spirits quickly flew towards the Taishan ancient emperor. They joined forces with the Taishan ancient emperor and quickly killed the 2 Sage Realm experts. Next, the Taishan ancient emperor and the 56 undead spirits quickly flew towards Lin Feng. They surrounded the Golden Crow ancient emperor. Golden Crow ancient emperor, you're dead? Lin Feng sneered. He, the Taishan ancient emperor, and the 56 undead spirits launched a terrifying attack towards the Golden Crow ancient emperor. End of chapter. Chapter 56-65. The Golden Crow ancient emperor was besieged by so many people. He naturally knew that it was impossible for him to withstand the attacks of so many experts with his own strength. The Golden Crow ancient emperor did not dare to be careless in the face of so many attacks. He hurriedly took out a supreme treasure that was made of the Sun Divine Stone. It was called the Golden Crow Pagoda. The Golden Crow Pagoda had a total of 7 levels, and the light of the sun shone down from the pagoda. The light of the sun shrouded the land of the Golden Crow ancient emperor within. When all the attacks came crashing down, they were all blocked by the light of the sun. The Golden Crow Pagoda was indeed an incredible treasure. Lin Feng and the others were astonished when they saw the power of the attack. With such a powerful treasure protecting the Golden Crow ancient emperor, it would not be easy to kill him. However, Lin Feng and the others had enough people on their side. No matter how powerful the Golden Crow ancient emperor's treasure was, it would not be able to withstand their continuous attacks as long as the attacks lasted for a while longer. The Golden Crow ancient emperor said angrily, "Don't you think it's unfair for all of you to gang up on me?" Lin Feng said, "Is there such a thing as unfair in a battle of life and death? I just like to bully others with numbers." The Golden Crow ancient emperor's mouth twitched when he heard Lin Feng's words. Although Lin Feng's words sounded a little shameless, the battle of life and death in the world of cultivators was extremely cruel. Everyone would only remember who had succeeded. The loser would be forgotten by everyone. The winner would be able to rewrite history. Only the winner would be able to survive. That was the most important thing. The Golden Crow ancient emperor looked at Lin Feng and asked, "Who are you? We don't have any grudges with you. Why are you interfering with our business with the Lunar Ancient Emperor's bloodline?" Lin Feng said, "Because I'm a human. How can I forgive you for harming a human cultivator of the Lunar Ancient Emperor's bloodline?" The Golden Crow ancient emperor said, "Although you are very powerful and have so many Sage Realm undead as your subordinates, you should know that our 3 factions have quasi-supreme level experts. If you insist on interfering, do you know what the consequences will be when the quasi-supreme level experts arrive?" "Oh, are you threatening me?" Lin Feng sneered at the Golden Crow ancient emperor. He said coldly, "How dare you threaten me when you're about to die? You don't know what's good for you. I'll throw you into the 18 levels of hell soon." Lin Feng and the others attacked even more ferociously. The Golden Crow ancient emperor released his Golden Crow Pagoda to block their attacks. At the same time, the Golden Crow ancient emperor took out a jade talisman. It was a space travel jade talisman. It was no wonder that the Golden Crow ancient emperor had such a tough attitude despite being besieged. It turned out that he still had such a supreme treasure. Clearly, the Golden Crow ancient emperor felt that he could escape successfully with the help of the jade talisman. Lin Feng sneered when he saw the jade talisman. Did this guy really think that he could escape with the help of the jade talisman? That was a little too whimsical. Lin Feng began to activate his space Dao. At the same time, the Golden Crow ancient emperor crushed the jade talisman. Once the jade talisman was crushed, a powerful spatial energy surged out. The spatial energy condensed into a spatial gate. It was unknown where the spatial gate led to. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor did not enter the spatial door immediately. Instead, he looked coldly at Lin Feng. His face was filled with murderous intent as he said, "Little brat, I'll remember you. Today, you ruined our plan and caused us to suffer heavy losses. Moreover, you're still stubbornly trying to help the ancient Emperor of the Moon. Soon, I'll make sure you die without a grave." He took a step forward and tried to enter the spatial door. He wanted to travel through space and leave this place. However, he had actually failed. The reason for that was because the spatial gate was rapidly closing. When he saw the spatial gate rapidly closing, his complexion immediately turned extremely ugly. What's going on? Why would something like this happen? The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor shouted in disbelief. He could not accept what was happening in front of him. However, he could not change what had happened. Very soon, the spatial gate completely disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng sneered. "Golden Crow Ancient Emperor, you won't be able to escape. Accept your fate." The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor looked coldly at Lin Feng. He had felt that Lin Feng was casting a technique. However, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor did not take it to heart. Now, it seemed that Lin Feng had something to do with the spatial door being destroyed. "What technique did you use?" The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's eyes were extremely gloomy. Said Lin Feng, "I received the legacy of the first space god, so I can control empty space Dao. That's why I can use empty space Dao to fight against you. Your door is also made of empty space strength, so it's not difficult for me to destroy it," said Lin Feng. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's face darkened when he heard Lin Feng's words. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's face darkened. However, Lin Feng did not say anything else to the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. The most important thing now was not to give the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor a chance to counterattack. Killing him as soon as possible was the most important thing. He and the others launched even more ferocious and violent attacks at the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. All kinds of attacks were launched at the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's defensive treasure was very powerful. However, under the continuous attacks of Lin Feng and the others, his defensive treasure was about to be destroyed. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor knew very well that if his defensive treasure was destroyed, he would have to face the attacks of Lin Feng and the others. This would be an extremely terrible thing for him. After all, no matter how powerful he was, he would not be able to withstand the attacks of so many experts. Therefore, the Golden Crow Ancient Arch looked at Lin Feng and said, "As long as you let me go, I can promise you anything. I can give you the Immortal Sutra, and even tell you about the ancient weapon." The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor clearly knew that as long as he could rope in Lin Feng, he would have a chance to live. Therefore, he wanted to tempt Lin Feng into letting him live. The conditions he proposed were tempting enough to tempt anyone. Chapter 56-66. Even Lin Feng had to admit that the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's offer was extremely tempting. If it had been anyone else, they might have agreed. However, Lin Feng was different. No matter how tempting the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's offer was, Lin Feng would not agree. This was because some things could not be measured by benefits. For example, his relationship with little Yao Yao and the connection between the bloodlines of the human race could not be measured by other things. Even though Lin Feng really wanted the celestial scriptures and the ancient weapons, he preferred to find those things himself. He didn't want to betray his friends for those things. Therefore, Lin Feng rejected him coldly. "Don't waste your time. You will die today. No one can save your life." Lin Feng continued to attack the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. The others also attacked the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor together. All kinds of terrifying attacks were launched at him. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's face was extremely gloomy. He had no choice but to continue using the Golden Crow Pagoda to block the attacks of Lin Feng and the others. However, although the Golden Crow Pagoda was very powerful, it had blocked the attacks for a long time. The defensive system formed by the Golden Crow Pagoda had been severely damaged. After Lin Feng and the others released another 3 or 4 waves of attacks, the defensive system formed by the Golden Crow Pagoda finally could not hold on. The defensive system formed by the Golden Crow Pagoda collapsed. Upon seeing this, Lin Feng looked excited. Without the protection of the Golden Crow Pagoda, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor would definitely die no matter how powerful he was. After all, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was only one person. It was difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. On the other hand, Lin Feng and the others had many experts. Wouldn't it be very easy to kill the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor? Lin Feng and the others attacked the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor together. All kinds of attacks were launched at him. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor used his defensive mystique to block them, but his defensive mystique was destroyed in an instant. Then, Lin Feng and the others' attacks landed on the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's body. Half of the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's body exploded. How could this be? How could this be? I can't accept this. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor roared furiously. He was an expert at the pinnacle of the Sage Realm, and it was the end of the epoch. He could seize this special period to break through to the Transcendence Realm. Once he completed the Transcendence, it would be an unprecedented transformation. If he were to be killed by Lin Feng and the others, then everything would be for naught, even though he was extremely unwilling. However, he had no way to reverse the tide of the battle. In fact, no one could reverse the tide of the battle. If it was Lin Feng who was surrounded by dozens of Saint Realm experts, only death awaited him. You won't be able to escape, Lin Feng sneered. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. Right now, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's hatred for Lin Feng was as endless as a torrential river. If it weren't for Lin Feng, how could he have ended up like this? Therefore, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor wanted to drag Lin Feng to hell with him before he died. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's body started burning. He was burning his origin source to increase his strength. After burning his origin source, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's strength increased greatly. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's aura also became more and more terrifying. After sensing the terrifying aura emanating from the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's body, Lin Feng's face darkened slightly. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor flew directly toward Lin Feng at high speed. When he got close to Lin Feng, his body started to swell. Obviously, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor wanted to self-destruct to drag Lin Feng down with him. This method was very tragic because the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's soul would also be destroyed by the explosion. However, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor couldn't care less. Although this method was extremely tragic, it was the most effective method. If he used other methods, such as killing Lin Feng through a life-and-death battle, it might be more difficult. However, after he burned his origin source to increase his cultivation level, and then self-destructed to drag Lin Feng down with him, the success rate was much higher. This was because the stronger a cultivator's cultivation level was, the more destructive the self-destruction would be. For example, the power of the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's self-destruction was many times stronger than when he didn't burn his origin source to increase his cultivation level. Everyone's expression changed drastically when they saw that the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was about to self-destruct. At that moment, Lin Feng tapped the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor lightly, and the power of destiny flew directly into his body. So, when the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was about to self-destruct, Lin Feng had already used the Great Destiny technique to deal with him. Didn't you want to self-destruct? I'll use the Great Destiny technique to change your destiny so that you can't self-destruct. Therefore, when the powerful power of destiny surged into the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's body, his swollen body quickly returned to its original state. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's plan to self-destruct naturally fell through just like that. However, Lin Feng's attack was still approaching. The rest of the people also came back to their senses and released powerful attacks. All the attacks were directed at the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor roared furiously. He withstood the first wave of attacks with difficulty. However, Lin Feng and the rest attacked him continuously. After 7 or 8 waves of attacks, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor finally couldn't hold on any longer. After all, his body had been severely injured. In addition, he had just failed to self-destruct and suffered a backlash. He couldn't hold on for long. In the end, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was killed by Lin Feng and the rest. Lin Feng refined the Golden Crow ancient emperor's flesh and soul into the purest source energy. The source energy of an expert at the Golden Crow ancient emperor's level was still very useful to Lin Feng. Therefore, Lin Feng was still very interested in the source energy of the Golden Crow ancient emperor. Lin Feng put the 56 souls into the Book of Dead Souls, and then put the Book of Dead Souls away. Meanwhile, the cultivators of the great ancient emperor's bloodline cheered. They had thought that they wouldn't be able to escape this time, but they had survived. The feeling of surviving a calamity was really great. However, although they had survived, many of them couldn't help but cry softly when they thought of their clansmen who had died tragically. Chapter 56-67. Lin Feng didn't try to persuade them to stop crying. Sometimes, it was necessary to vent one's emotions. He could understand the sorrow of the Taiyan ancient emperor. Princess Yao Yao came to Lin Feng's side and said, "Big brother Feng, I originally wanted to look for you after I broke through to the true immortal realm, but because of the great changes, I couldn't find you. I didn't expect you to appear here. Did you come here just to see me?" Lin Feng nodded and said, "Yes, I came here just to see you. Fortunately, I came in time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. If something happened to you, I would die of grief." Princess Yao Yao blushed when she heard Lin Feng's words, but she was very happy. At this time, the Taiyan ancient emperor ordered everyone to collect the corpses of the dead. Princess Yao Yao looked at the Taiyan ancient emperor and asked, "Ancestor, shouldn't we get out of here now? After all, we've been exposed. If we continue to stay here, won't they send more experts to deal with us?" The Taiyan ancient emperor nodded and said, "Yes, we should leave. Otherwise, it'll be very dangerous." Lin Feng said, "There's no need to leave. The powerful restrictions outside are the best defense. I plan to use them to deal with the cultivators who are coming. If they really dare to come, even if they're cultivators who surpass their cultivation level, I can make them die here." The Taiyan ancient emperor and Princess Yao Yao's eyes lit up. If someone else had said that, they wouldn't have believed it. However, since it was Lin Feng, they believed that Lin Feng could do it. "Then I'll have to trouble you, little friend," the Taiyan ancient emperor said. "Senior, you're welcome," Lin Feng said. After a pause, Lin Feng continued, "I'll go and observe the restrictions outside. I want to think about how to set up the great formation here." "Okay." The Taiyan ancient emperor nodded. "Big brother Feng, I'll go with you," Princess Yao Yao said. Lin Feng nodded. Then Lin Feng and Princess Yao Yao flew outside. Ancient Emperor Taishian looked at Lin Feng and Princess Yao Yao as they left. He pondered for a while and then smiled. He had been young and knew about love. Princess Yao Yao had been thinking about Lin Feng all these years. Now that Lin Feng had come to find her, Ancient Emperor Taishian smiled. His heart must be filled with joy. Lin Feng and Princess Yao Yao entered the restricted area. Princess Yao Yao asked, "Big brother Feng, have you been well all these years?" Lin Feng said, "I've experienced too many things over the years. There were good things and bad things, but it's still passable. After I finish setting up the formation, I'll have a good chat with you about what happened over the years." Princess Yao Yao quickly nodded her head. Lin Feng spent 3 days studying the restrictions. The restrictions here were indeed terrifying. However, the restrictions here were scattered. Once they were scattered, they would be able to break through. If they were scattered, their power would be greatly reduced. If he could combine the restrictions, their power would naturally be terrifying. They could erupt with power 10 times, or even 100 times stronger. With so many restrictions, if they could erupt with power that many times stronger, the destructive power would be unimaginable. Besides, that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that Lin Feng was going to use those restrictive spells as a foundation to create even more powerful deployment spells. The stone scriptures recorded many top-notch killing formations. There were even records of some killing formations from the previous epoch. Lin Feng found it very difficult to set up some of the formations. However, if Lin Feng used the stone scriptures to set them up, it wouldn't be a problem for him to set them up successfully. While Lin Feng was setting up the formations, the news that all the experts of the 3 major forces had been killed quickly spread out. The higher-ups of the three major forces gathered together to discuss this matter. Originally, they didn't intend to invite the Transcendence Realm experts to come out. After all, the Transcendence Realm experts were terrifying existences. They generally wouldn't get involved in such matters easily. They were generally pursuing self-transcendence. But this time, even the cultivators at the peak of the Sage Realm were killed. They knew that they had to invite the Transcendence Realm experts to come out. Therefore, the experts of the three major forces personally invited the Transcendence Realm experts to come out. Under the leadership of the three Transcendence Realm experts, the experts of the three major forces quickly rushed towards Panyang Lake. After setting up the formations, Lin Feng was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. Lin Feng returned to the island and had a good rest. In the next few days, Lin Feng and Princess Yao Yao talked about many things that had happened in the past few years. When they talked about some thrilling events, such as the matter of killing the Heavenly Emperor, even though it had happened a long time ago, Princess Yao Yao still had a look of fear. Princess Yao Yao had a look of lingering fear. When she was afraid, she would reveal a weak expression. That kind of appearance was quite delicate and pitiful. On this day, Ancient Emperor Taixian came to Lin Feng's place. Ancient Emperor Taixian said, "Young friend, we have two extremely powerful supreme treasures, but these two supreme treasures have been sealed and can't be used. The reason why the experts of the three great forces want to kill us isn't just because of their previous grudges. The main reason is that they want the two treasures of the Ancient Emperor of the Lunar Ancient Emperor," said Lin Feng. "If you're interested, I can take you to see the two treasures now," said Lin Feng. "If you can activate those two treasures, it means you're fated to be with them. I can represent the Ancient Emperor of the Lunar Ancient Emperor and give them to you," said the Ancient Emperor. End of chapter. Chapter 56-68. After hearing the Ancient Emperor's words, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect such a good thing to be waiting for him. This was truly a pleasant surprise. In fact, Lin Feng had suspected that the three great powers had other motives for wanting to destroy the Ancient Emperor's bloodline. Perhaps there was some hatred in the middle. However, Lin Feng had always felt that the world was full of benefits. If there were no benefits, would they have to risk their lives to destroy the Ancient Emperor's bloodline? However, there were some things that the Ancient Emperor didn't say, so Lin Feng couldn't ask him. Now that the Ancient Emperor had taken the initiative to speak about it, it confirmed Yi Xian's previous guess. Lin Feng asked curiously, "Senior, may I know what those two treasures are?" The Ancient Emperor said, "Little friend, follow me. You'll know when you see those two treasures." Hearing the Ancient Emperor's words, Lin Feng didn't ask any more questions. However, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel even more curious. Lin Feng suppressed his curiosity for the time being and followed the Ancient Emperor to the place where the two treasures were placed. They arrived at a cave deep in the mountain range. The two treasures were placed inside the cave. After seeing the two treasures, Lin Feng's face immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Heaven-shaking stone tablet. Those two treasures were actually two heaven-shaking stone tablets. Moreover, it was one yin and one yang. Two heaven-shaking stone tablets that could form a connection. Lin Feng already had two complete heaven-shaking stone tablets. Back then, he had relied on these two heaven-shaking stone tablets to kill the Heavenly Emperor. They had played an extremely important role at the critical moment. Back then, they had joined forces to attack the Heavenly Emperor. If not for Lin Feng's two heaven-shaking stone tablets, Lin Feng's group of four would have died without a doubt. Lin Feng was very clear on this point. Therefore, Lin Feng knew how heaven-defying these heaven-shaking stone tablets were. If he could gather all 18 heaven-shaking stone tablets, he could even find the secret of eternal life. Moreover, these heaven-shaking stone steels also recorded countless absolute arts. Lin Feng had yet to fully comprehend the various absolute arts recorded in the book. However, Lin Feng believed that it was only a matter of time. Lin Feng naturally wanted to collect all 18 heaven-shaking stone steels. However, Lin Feng also knew how difficult it was to collect all 18 of them. It was just like how Lin Feng was collecting the stone swords. If he could collect all 36 stone swords, then he would absolutely be able to sweep through all the lost races in the world. Actually, to be honest, the master of the mastermind's world was also the epic lost race. After all, he had lived through many eras. If Lin Feng could find the 36 stone swords, perhaps he could use the 36 stone swords to kill the mastermind behind the scenes. But the key was that Lin Feng had only found 14 stone swords. Lin Feng had no idea where the remaining 22 stone swords were. The situation of the heaven-shaking stone tablets was very similar to the 36 stone swords. The heaven-shaking stone tablets were too heaven-defying. If he could find all the heaven-shaking stone tablets, that would be amazing. However, the key was that it was too difficult to find all the heaven-shaking stone tablets. Now, Lin Feng saw the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets. From this, one could tell how happy he was right now. Lin Feng realized that the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets were different from the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets that he had obtained. The 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets were stained with blood. The blood had completely merged with the heaven-shaking stone tablets. It should be the blood of an extremely powerful cultivator. The reason why he made such a guess was that Lin Feng felt a trace of dangerous aura from the blood. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the heaven-shaking stone tablet that he had seen in the starry world back then. It was also stained with blood. Moreover, the blood on it was the blood of one of his ancestors. It was also because of this reason that when he was not particularly powerful back then, he was able to rely on the blood on the heaven-shaking stone tablet to successfully activate a portion of the heaven-shaking stone tablet's power. After that, he had killed dozens of alien life forms. Lin Feng did not know who the blood on the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets belonged to, but Lin Feng was sure of one thing. The blood on the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets was definitely not his ancestor's blood. If it was his ancestor's blood, he would definitely be able to sense it. However, when he sensed the blood on the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets, there was not the slightest bit of movement. This meant that the blood had nothing to do with his ancestor. It should be his ancestor's blood. Lin Feng looked at the ancient emperor of supreme mystery and asked, "Senior, whose blood is this?" The ancient emperor of supreme mystery said, "I don't know. It's said that in the past, someone used the heaven-shaking stone tablets to participate in the Xiantian battle. That battle was too fierce, so I'm guessing that the blood should belong to the owner of the heaven-shaking stone tablets back then." It's simply unimaginable how strong a cultivator who could control 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets in that era was. Later, the ancestor of Supreme Ancient Emperor obtained the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets. At that time, he was still able to activate the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets. However, after he died, the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets underwent some strange changes. Our lineage's cultivators could no longer activate the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets. Even I can't activate the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets anymore. Little friend, you should know how extraordinary the heaven-shaking stone tablets are. Apart from the supreme divine court and the door of everlasting life, the heaven-shaking stone tablets are supreme treasures that hide the most secrets. Once the cultivators of any power hear about the heaven-shaking stone tablets, they'll be very interested in the heaven-shaking stone tablets. Even if there's a river of blood, they'll want to obtain the heaven-shaking stone tablets. The 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets have been in our clan for a very long time, but we've never been able to activate them. This means that our fate with the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets has come to an end. Now, we need to find a fated person to activate the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets. I wonder if you're that fated person. Lin Feng said, "I'll try." The ancient emperor of supreme mystery nodded and said, "All right, little friend, you can try to activate the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets here. I won't disturb you any longer." Lin Feng nodded and sent the ancient emperor of supreme mystery out. Then, Lin Feng went back. He sat down cross-legged. Powerful dermic powers continuously flowed into the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets. Lin Feng tried to refine the 2 heaven-shaking stone tablets. End of chapter. Chapter 56-69. However, there was one thing that made Lin Feng feel rather depressed. His magic power was actually unable to flow into the stone tablets. It was really strange. Lin Feng then tried to use his divine consciousness to sense the 2 stone tablets. However, There was still no reaction from the two stone tablets. There was no fluctuation either. They were just like two ordinary stone tablets. Seeing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. Could it be that he wasn't fated to be with the two stone tablets? That wouldn't do. I must obtain these two stone steels. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Lin Feng summoned his two stone tablets. They had already been refined by Lin Feng. Therefore, Lin Feng was able to control the two stone tablets with ease. Just as Lin Feng's two stone tablets were activated, the two blood-stained stone tablets emitted waves of violent fluctuations from within. Seeing this, Lin Feng's face was instantly filled with joy. It seemed that the stone tablets could sense each other. Maybe I can refine these two steels? Lin Feng couldn't help but have a thought. Thinking of this, Lin Feng's magic power continuously flowed into the two stone tablets. Previously, his magic power was unable to flow into the two heaven-shaking stone tablets. However, he had succeeded this time. However, at this moment, a strange scene occurred. Lin Feng's blood, which had already dried up, was now dripping with blood. Lin Feng poured more strength into the stone tablet. All of it was devoured by the blood. The two stone tablets were indeed strange. They were resisting his refinement. This made Lin Feng feel that it was a little tricky. However, Lin Feng realized that although he couldn't refine the two stone tablets, the two blood-stained stone tablets hadn't died yet. But the two blood-stained stone tablets didn't calm down. It meant that Lin Feng's two stone tablets were resonating with the two blood-stained stone tablets. Lin Feng wanted to find out where the blood came from. He wanted to see if he could find any clues about how to refine the two stone tablets. The reason why Lin Feng had sensed the blood was because the blood of extremely strong cultivators often contained ancient memories. Maybe the blood contained such memories. If Lin Feng could find such memories, he would be able to find them. If he could find out the origin of the blood on the two stone tablets, he might be able to find out the origin of the blood on the two stone tablets. When Lin Feng's divine consciousness came into contact with the blood, Lin Feng immediately felt that he was instantly pulled into an extremely ancient world. An earth-shaking battle cry rang out from afar as countless cultivators engaged in a fierce battle against each other. A battle between Xiantian life forms. Lin Feng revealed an extremely shocked expression. Lin Feng actually had a certain understanding of the battle between Xiantian life forms. However, he didn't know much about it. It was said that many Xiantian life forms had fought over various resources and territories. This battle was originally a small-scale one. However, some Xiantian life forms had died later on. As a result, the Xiantian life forms who had suffered losses found their friends, and their friends found their friends. The battle became more and more intense, and the death toll became more and more severe. In the end, it swept through all the worlds. This battle, it was equivalent to an internal strife. The battle between Xiantian life forms was absolutely a destructive blow to the experts born in this era. The masterminds behind the battle between Xiantian life forms were actually the remnant races of the era, the alien life forms, and the mastermind behind the scenes. These people had always been high and mighty. They didn't want to see too many powerful life forms born in this era. For example, the remnant races of the era had their cultivation base constantly weaken while the strength of the life forms born in this era was constantly increasing. If they continued to increase their strength, the cultivators of the remnant races of the era would feel that the life forms of this era would pose a great threat to them. Therefore, they had to take precautions. Then, before the life forms of this era posed a real threat, they would think of ways to eliminate them first. Meanwhile, the reason why the foreign creatures started this war was even easier to understand. They came from other universes. They wanted to obtain all kinds of resources. They wanted to rule over the heavens. That was why they wanted to enslave other races to do things for them. So they needed to eliminate some powerful cultivators who resisted them. Needless to say, the existence of the behind-the-scenes world didn't need to be mentioned, because the destruction of the era and the birth of the era were caused by them. But sometimes, if too many experts were born in an era, it would pose a great threat to them. Naturally, they had to prevent this threat from appearing. They had to completely nip this threat in the bud before it truly appeared. This was because the Xiantian life forms of this epoch were simply too powerful. The experts among them included Pangu, Xingtian, Niuhua, Hongming, Hongjun, and so on. They were simply too powerful, which was why the three powers were alarmed. Therefore, these three forces joined forces to create this great war between Xiantian sacred spirits. After this war, most of the experts of this era fell. Then, this era turned from a golden age of cultivation to a relative low point. Lin Feng originally thought that the Xiantian life forms were schemed against very badly. They killed each other and suffered heavy losses. In the end, when they came back to their senses, their strength was extremely limited. Then, the remnant races of the epoch, the alien life forms, and the mastermind behind the scenes struck like lightning. In the end, the era of Xiantian life forms ended and countless Xiantian life forms fell. But now, that didn't seem to be the case. At the very beginning, the Xiantian life forms had indeed engaged in small-scale battles. But later on, the Xiantian life forms seemed to have discovered the hidden mastermind behind all of this. Thus, these Xiantian life forms banded together, erupting into an extremely bitter war with these three powers. This was completely different from what was recorded in the Taoist scriptures, where the Xiantian life forms were ultimately annihilated due to internal strife. At this moment, Lin Feng found himself in the middle of an ancient battlefield. Lin Feng saw an extremely tall cultivator in the distance, carrying an enormous stone steel and walking over step by step. That cultivator was actually a cultivator from the demon race. Lin Feng was quite surprised. Most of the time, the demon race cultivators seemed to represent the evil side. That was because they were very ambitious. They launched many great wars in order to rule the multiverse. For example, Great Demon Yu's brother, Great Demon Sky, had launched such a war in the past. It had caused great suffering. But when the Great War between Xiantian life forms broke out, many Devil Race cultivators participated in the battle. Moreover, these Devil Race cultivators were also on the side of the cultivators of this epoch. The demon cultivator in Lin Feng's line of sight was the same. He was a demon expert born in this era. Hefting the fused stone steel, he quickly charged into the rolling black mist in the distance. End of chapter. Chapter 56-70. In the end, this unknown expert also died in this battle. His blood stained the two steels. Even though countless years had passed, his blood hadn't been completely erased by time. Now, his blood had completely fused with the steels, and from now on, they couldn't be separated anymore. All the images disappeared. Lin Feng's godly awareness came back to reality. Lin Feng looked at the two steels in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. He hadn't thought that the actual situation of the battle between the Xiantian experts would be like this. It was completely different from what he had understood before. This battle was really too tragic, but it was also because of this battle that the surviving races of the epoch, the creatures from the world of the mastermind, and the creatures from the other domain had suffered great losses. Otherwise, these three forces would have been even more powerful. If that had been the case, it would have been too difficult to deal with these three forces. Basically, there was no hope. But now, there was still some hope. Lin Feng got up and walked to the two steels. He gently touched the blood on the steels. Lin Feng said, "Senior, your will has fused with the steels, so now, no one can activate the steels. Senior, my wish is to control the 18 steels and kill the mastermind, the surviving races of the epoch, and the creatures from the other domain. Let this world become a world where everyone is a dragon. If Senior still wants to continue fighting, then let's fight side by side." After Lin Feng said this, an extremely terrifying will to fight emerged from Lin Feng's body. The blood on the two steels seemed to have sensed Lin Feng's will to fight. The blood flowed rapidly, as if it had its own consciousness. An extremely powerful will to fight gushed out of the blood. The will to fight surged out of the blood and fused with Lin Feng's will to fight. When the two wills fused together, Lin Feng immediately felt that the two steels had a very strange resonance with him. Lin Feng had obtained the recognition of the two blood-stained heaven-shaking stone steels. Lin Feng felt that he should be able to refine these two heaven-shocking steels now. As a result, Lin Feng's magic power continuously gushed out and poured into the two heaven-shaking stone steels. Before long, Lin Feng successfully refined 2 pieces of the heaven-shocking steel. After refining the 2 steels, Lin Feng immediately showed an extremely excited expression. He now had 4 steels. Once the 4 heaven-shaking stone steels were activated, the battle that would erupt was simply unimaginable. Lin Feng was relying on the might of these 4 heaven-suppressing stone steels. Even an expert at the peak of the Sage Realm would be killed by Lin Feng. Lin Feng dared to fight against an expert who was close to surpassing the Sage Realm. Lin Feng put away the 4 heaven-shaking stone steels and then left. Seeing Lin Feng return, the ancient emperor of mystery asked, "Young friend, how did it go?" Lin Feng smiled and said, "My luck is not bad. I managed to refine the 2 heaven-shaking stone steels." Hearing Lin Feng's words, the ancient emperor of mystery smiled and said, "Young friend, you are indeed a person with monstrous luck. Congratulations, young friend." Lin Feng said, "I have to thank Senior for letting me try to refine the 2 heaven-shaking stone steels. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to obtain them." The 2 chatted for a while before Lin Feng bade farewell and returned to his residence. Lin Feng had not had the time to refine the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's origin energy when he had obtained it. Lin Feng planned to refine the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's origin energy to raise his cultivation level. Lin Feng took out the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's origin energy. As an expert at the peak of the Sage Realm, the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's origin energy was very powerful and could greatly raise a cultivator's cultivation level. Of course, the exact amount of increase depended on the individual situation. Some cultivators with little accumulation might be able to raise their cultivation level by many realms. Some cultivators with great accumulation might only be able to raise their cultivation level by 1 or 2 realms. Some might not even be able to raise their cultivation level at all. Lin Feng really couldn't wait to become stronger. He was going to have an intense battle soon, and Lin Feng really wanted to become stronger. That way, his chances of winning would be greater. In the next 3 days, Lin Feng continued to refine the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's origin energy. Lin Feng had completely refined the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's origin energy. Lin Feng's cultivation level had also broken through from the 1st firmament of the Golden Immortal Realm to the 3rd firmament of the Golden Immortal Realm. Lin Feng was extremely satisfied with the 2 consecutive breakthroughs. After all, Lin Feng's accumulation was too powerful. It was extremely difficult for him to break through. Being able to break through 2 realms at once was indeed an extremely great improvement. Lin Feng's soul power and physical body had also been greatly improved. However, this improvement did not allow Lin Feng's soul and physical body to completely transform. This was because Lin Feng's soul and physical body were both at the peak of the Sage King realm. If he broke through again, he would be crossing a major realm. It was extremely difficult to break through a major realm. At the same time, the 3 quasi-transcendents led the cultivators from the 3 major forces to Panyang Lake. These people did not hide their auras at all. Therefore, many people were alarmed. A large number of cultivators followed from afar to watch the show. After the 3 quasi-transcendents led the cultivators from the 3 major forces into Panyang Lake, the cultivators who followed them also entered Panyang Lake one after another. Not long after, the cultivators who had been searching outside returned to the island. They told everyone the news. After hearing the news, Lin Feng immediately sneered. Lin Feng said, "I'll go with Senior Profound Ancient Emperor to deal with those people. The rest of you, stay on the island and don't leave without permission." Then, Lin Feng and Profound Ancient Emperor flew outside. Profound Ancient Emperor had recovered quite well recently and had recovered a lot of his strength. With an expert like Profound Ancient Emperor helping him deal with the experts from the 3 major forces, he could share some of the pressure. After a short time, the strong cultivators of the 3 influential groups arrived. When they saw Lin Feng and the Ancient Emperor of the Supreme Mystery, they were surprised because Lin Feng and the Ancient Emperor of the Supreme Mystery had been waiting for them. This made them very confused. They didn't know what Lin Feng and Profound Ancient Emperor were planning. However, the experts from the 3 major forces were extremely confident in their own strength. Therefore, they didn't put Lin Feng and Profound Ancient Emperor in their eyes. In their eyes, in front of absolute strength, all schemes and plots were like paper tigers that could be broken with a single poke. End of chapter. Chapter 5671. Are you the one who killed the Golden Crow, ancient emperor? The quasi-surpassing realm expert of the Kinwu people stared coldly at Lin Feng. He had received news that a young cultivator had suddenly appeared and killed the Golden Crow, ancient emperor, as well as all the experts he had brought with him. In fact, Lin Feng had deliberately spread the news. Lin Feng had been hiding in the dark, acting as the mastermind behind the scenes. He had wanted these people to come quickly so that he could kill them all in one fell swoop. Lin Feng did not have a good impression of these people at all. Lin Feng especially hated the Kinwu people. No matter what, the Kinwu people were still living beings of this epoch. Now, they had actually joined forces with the mastermind behind the scenes. It was really detestable. If he did not kill them, he would not be able to quell the anger in his heart. Lin Feng sneered. That's right. I killed the Golden Crow, ancient emperor. Soon, all of you will go to hell to accompany the Golden Crow, ancient emperor. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the group of people's faces became extremely gloomy. When they looked at Lin Feng, their eyes were filled with killing intent. They could not wait to cut Lin Feng into pieces. Kid, you are really too arrogant. Even if you have some ability, do you think you can deal with so many of us? Don't forget that we have 3 quasi-surpassing realm experts on our side. Experts of this level are not something you can imagine. They can kill you like a dog. The quasi-surpassing realm expert of the epic remnant race said coldly. His ice-cold eyes were filled with disdain when he looked at Lin Feng. Obviously, this person did not take Lin Feng seriously at all. However, Lin Feng could understand this person. After all, his cultivation level was not high in their eyes. Said Lin Feng. Then let's see who's stronger. After saying that, Lin Feng activated all the restrictive formations in the area. All kinds of formation runes intertwined in the void. All the restrictive formations and the killing formation set up by Lin Feng all emitted an extremely terrifying aura. After sensing the might of those restrictions and formations, their expressions finally changed. Because the restrictions in this place were scattered, it was difficult for them to pose much of a threat to powerful cultivators like them. However, if the restrictions were to be combined, then the power of the restrictions would be terrifying. At that moment, they could clearly sense that not only had the power of the barriers fused together, but there was also a new power pouring in. In other words, not only had the other party fused the barriers together, but they had also set up a new killing formation on top of the barriers. This was something they had not expected at all. According to their understanding, the Great Mystery Ancient Emperor definitely did not have this ability. If the Great Mystery Ancient Emperor did not have this ability, then it meant that the young human cultivator in front of them had done it. It sounded very unbelievable because these methods were really too heaven-defying. How could a young human cultivator do something so heaven-defying? But this was the truth. Even if they did not believe it, the truth was right in front of them. They had to believe it. The cultivators of the 3 great powers were already a little chaotic. In the face of such a terrifying restrictive formation, they did not have the confidence to do anything. At that moment, the quasi-transcendence realm expert from the ancient demon race said in a deep voice, "Everyone, don't panic. With the 3 of us here, no formation can hurt you." As soon as he finished speaking, all kinds of attacks were released. Those terrifying attacks were all aimed at the cultivators of the 3 great powers. When those attacks came, many people died on the spot. The quasi-transcendence realm expert from the ancient demon race had just said that with the 3 of them here, everyone would be fine. Then, so many people were killed by the restrictive formation activated by Lin Feng. It was really a slap in the face. The quasi-transcendence realm expert from the ancient demon race had an extremely ugly expression on his face. This was just a greeting gift from Lin Feng. The power of these restrictive formations had not been fully released yet. This was because Lin Feng and the others had not increased the power of these restrictive formations yet. Lin Feng looked at the Great Mystery Ancient Emperor and said, "Senior, go to the Extreme Formation Core and guard it." The Great Mystery Ancient Emperor nodded and quickly flew to the Extreme Formation Core that Lin Feng had set up. This time, Lin Feng had set up 2 main array cores. These 2 array cores were divided into Yin and Yang. Lin Feng guarded the Yang array core, while the Great Mystery Ancient Emperor guarded the Yin array core. The division of labor between the 2 of them was very clear. After the great mystery ancient emperor entered the extreme information core, Lin Feng summoned the Book of the Dead. All 56 Sage Realm undead flew out and quickly flew to the array cores they were guarding. On the other hand, Lin Feng entered the extreme young array core. Everyone entered the formation cores that they were guarding. Then, they activated the Death Trap Grand Formation and all kinds of restrictions. Instantly, the power of the Death Trap Grand Formation and all kinds of restrictions increased crazily. This kind of increase was simply shocking. Even the 3 quasi-transcendence realm experts felt the power of these restrictive formations. They could not help but suck in a breath of cold air because these attacks were really too powerful. Anyone who faced such a powerful restrictive formation would feel their scalp go numb. As for the others, their faces turned pale at this moment. Of course, although the attacks released by the restrictive formations were very terrifying, the cultivation of the 3 quasi-transcendence realm experts was too strong. Therefore, these restrictive formations could not hurt them in a short time. However, the others found it difficult to resist these attacks. The 3 quasi-transcendence realm experts had brought a total of more than 5,000 experts this time. Under the attack of these restrictive formations, more than half of these experts died in a short time. The sea was dyed red with blood. Chapter 5672. Seeing their experts dying one after another, the 3 quasi-transcendents trembled in anger. So many experts had been killed in such a short period of time. These people were the experts of their clans. Losing so many experts was a huge blow to their clans. More importantly, they had no way to stop this. The situation would only get more troublesome. Soon, their losses would be even more severe. The cultivators of the 3 major powers were extremely pale. The true immortals were in a better situation. The pseudo-immortals could not survive the terrifying attacks at all. They could only resist for a while if they had a powerful defensive treasure. If they did not have a powerful defensive treasure, they would not be able to resist for long. The experts of the 3 major powers were still dying rapidly. Not long after, more than 1,000 of the remaining 2,000 people died. In the end, only a few hundred people were left. These few hundred people were basically true immortals or cultivators with powerful defensive treasures. At this moment, the power of the formation was still increasing. Obviously, the formation's power had not reached its peak yet. The 3 quasi-transcendents were furious. Kinwu people's quasi-transcendents roared angrily, "Little bastard! I'm going to cut you into pieces. I'm going to send your soul into purgatory so that you can never be reincarnated. Otherwise, I won't be able to relieve the hatred in my heart." He had already locked onto Lin Feng's position. After cursing Lin Feng, he flew towards Lin Feng. The quasi-transcendents of the Ancient Demons clan and the Epic Lost clan also flew towards Lin Feng. They were also extremely angry and wanted to kill Lin Feng to vent their anger. However, Lin Feng did not give them the chance to do so. The array formation here was so powerful that all kinds of attacks were directed at the 3 quasi-transcendents. In the face of so many terrifying attacks, the 3 quasi-transcendents had no choice but to resist them. While they were resisting these attacks, they were immediately held back. Therefore, it was extremely unrealistic for them to get close to Lin Feng in a short period of time. At this moment, many of the remaining few hundred people were beginning to be unable to hold on. For example, there were many cultivators who used their defensive magic treasures to resist the attacks of the formation. Their defensive magic treasures were destroyed one after another, and as their defensive magic treasures were destroyed, those cultivators soon died under the attacks of the formation. Even though the true celestial cultivators were extremely strong, the deployment spells were too powerful. Lin Feng and the others were also there to activate the deployment spells. All of them added together were equivalent to 58 Saint Realm experts. With so many Saint Realm experts activating the restriction formation here, it was impossible for them to escape. How frightening was that? Therefore, the true immortals were gradually unable to hold on. More and more people were dying. More than 5,000 people died in less than an hour. There were only a dozen or so people left, and, by the true immortals, although there was still a huge gap between these Sage Realm experts and the 3 Transcendents, there was still a large gap between them and the 3 Transcendents. But that didn't mean that they weren't strong. On the contrary, they were very powerful. It was not easy to kill them with the formation in a short period of time. However, Lin Feng took out his 5 ancient weapons-grade treasures. When the true immortals were suppressed, Lin Feng activated the 5 ancient weapons-grade treasures to kill them. Every time, he focused all his strength on one person. The first true immortal was quickly killed. Then, the 5 ancient weapons-grade treasures attacked the second true immortal. The second true immortal was also killed. Lin Feng's method was very direct and violent. However, the true immortals had no way to resolve the dangerous situation they were in. The 3 true immortals were extremely angry. They wanted to help, but they were held back. Naturally, they had no way to help the true immortals. Mercy, mercy. We are willing to submit. Some of the true immortals began to beg for mercy. However, Lin Feng did not care about them at all. Lin Feng wanted to kill them. If he could kill them, Lin Feng could collect their origins and refine them. When the time came, his cultivation would be greatly improved. If he could successfully kill the 3 transcendent level experts, he would be able to kill them. After collecting their origins, Lin Feng felt that he might be able to break through to the true immortal realm. If he could break through to the true immortal realm, then he would break through to the true immortal realm. Once Lin Feng broke through to the true immortal realm, with Lin Feng's powerful accumulation, how powerful would his battle strength be after breaking through to the true immortal realm? Lin Feng was looking forward to this day. Lin Feng used the same method to kill more than a dozen true immortals. Then, he collected their origins. The origins of more than a dozen true immortals were extremely precious. The only pity was that there were no true immortals at the peak of the true immortal realm. The strongest true immortal realm cultivator was only at the 7th heaven of the true immortal realm. Although their origins were very powerful, there was still a big gap between them and a true immortal realm cultivator. But there were 3 strong cultivators who had almost surpassed the cultivation level. So Lin Feng's main goal was to obtain their original strengths. Ha! The profound ancient emperor could not help but laugh. Previously, countless people from the profound ancient emperor's bloodline had died tragically. The profound ancient emperor felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. It was extremely painful. Now that he saw so many experts from the 3 major powers being killed, the profound ancient emperor naturally felt very happy. Chapter 56-73. Lin Feng looked coldly at the 3 quasi-transcendents and said, "Now, only the 3 of you are left. Are you ready to die?" The 3 quasi-transcendents had ugly expressions on their faces. They didn't know what to do because Lin Feng's deployment spells were too terrifying. If it were just the formations and restrictions, they would not be able to withstand the attacks. The 3 quasi-transcendents were not so worried. More importantly, Lin Feng, the ancient emperor of Taishan, and the 56 saint-level undead were working together to activate the formations and restrictions. That was the scariest thing. With so many of them activating the formations and restrictions, the power of the formations and restrictions increased by dozens of times. It was too difficult to defend against them. Moreover, Lin Feng still had 5 ancient weapon-grade artifacts. The 3 quasi-transcendents had seen how terrifying Lin Feng's 5 ancient weapon-grade artifacts were. Even if they were to face Lin Feng's 5 ancient weapon-grade artifacts, they would still find it difficult to deal with them. You're strong, but if you want to kill us, you'll have to pay a heavy price. Besides, if the 3 of us fight with our lives on the line, even if we die, we'll drag you down with us. Since that's the case, why don't we start a negotiation? What do you think? In fact, the words of the ancient demon clan's quasi-transcendent powerhouse made some sense. After all, at their level, it was easy for them to drag others down with them when they were about to die. However, Lin Feng was not afraid of such a threat because the formations and restrictions here were powerful enough. Even if they wanted to use some desperate methods, it was impossible for them to succeed. Of course, the reason why Lin Feng was so confident wasn't just because of the powerful deployment spells. There was another important reason. Lin Feng already had 4 heaven-shaking steals, and he had yet to take them out. If he took out the 4 heaven-shaking steals, they would be able to support the formations and restrictions. In addition, he also had 5 ancient weapon-grade artifacts. Besides, and Lin Feng's 14 stone swords. The stone sword countered the epic remnant race. Among the 3 quasi-transcendent experts, the expert from the epic lost race was a creature that had transcended epics. Therefore, Lin Feng's 14 stone swords were very effective against this person. The first target that Lin Feng locked onto was the quasi-surpassing expert of the epic lost race. Lin Feng took out the 14 stone swords and the 4 stone steels. With the help of the ancient emperor of mystery and the 56 dead spirits, he activated all of these powerful treasures. Then, he charged towards the quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epoch. Since the 3 quasi-transcendents were separated by these formations, they were fighting alone at this moment. Then, all kinds of formations and restrictions attacked the lost epic race expert. In this way, the experts of the surviving clans didn't just have to resist the attacks of the restrictions, they had to resist the attacks of the 5 ancient weapons, 14 stone swords, and 4 heaven-shaking stone steels. How could he resist so many attacks by himself? Although his cultivation was incomparably tyrannical, facing so many attacks, he couldn't hold on any longer. Many bone-deep wounds appeared on his body. Those wounds were caused by the stone swords when he was suppressed by the formations, for heaven-shaking stone steels, and the 5 ancient weapons. The stone swords had caused too much damage to him. It couldn't be helped. Everything had a counter. Who asked the lost race of the epoch to be countered by the stone swords? If it were other treasures, even if they hit him, they might not be able to break through his defense. However, it was too easy for the stone swords to break through his defense. Seeing the quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epic suffering such serious injuries, the other 2 quasi-transcendent level experts looked extremely gloomy. If the quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epic was killed, only the 2 of them would be left. At that time, they would be in an extremely dangerous situation. Therefore, the 2 quasi-transcendent level experts wanted to meet up with the quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epoch. Lin Feng knew what they were thinking. Therefore, Lin Feng had been paying attention to the other 2 quasi-transcendent level experts. Although the 2 of them wanted to go over, they were stopped by the powerful restrictions. They couldn't go over at all. At this time, the quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epoch was getting more and more injured. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to hold on any longer. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. I'm a transcendent level existence. How can I die? I can't die. I don't want to die. The quasi-transcendent level expert was already speaking incoherently. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live. However, at this time, no one could save him. Lin Feng's gaze was extremely cold. All kinds of powerful attacks continued to bombard the quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epoch. The quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epoch couldn't withstand the attacks. In the end, his body exploded and he died on the spot. Lin Feng directly collected his source energy. Lin Feng finally obtained the source energy of a quasi-transcendent level expert. This was the first quasi-transcendent level expert that Lin Feng had obtained. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel extremely happy. Although the source energy of those Sage Realm experts was very powerful, to be honest, it didn't have a significant effect on Lin Feng. This was because Lin Feng had a very high requirement for the source energy. However, the source energy of quasi-transcendent level experts was very useful to Lin Feng. The key to whether or not Lin Feng could break through to the Sage Immortal Realm depended on how much the source energy of the 3 quasi-transcendent level experts could increase his cultivation base. After the quasi-transcendent level expert of the lost race of the epoch was killed, there were only 2 quasi-transcendent level experts left. Lin Feng immediately locked onto the quasi-transcendent level expert of the Qinwu people. This person had colluded with the lost race of the epoch and the ancient demon race. It was really detestable. It wouldn't be enough even if he died 1,000 or 10,000 times. Therefore, compared to the quasi-transcendent level expert of the ancient demon race, Lin Feng wanted to kill the quasi-transcendent level expert of the Qinwu people first. Lin Feng, the ancient emperor of Taishan, and the 56 departed spirits controlled the 4 heaven-shaking stone steels, 14 stone swords, and 5 ancient weapon-level supreme treasures to attack the quasi-transcendent level expert of the Kinwu people. End of chapter. Chapter 5674. The Kinwu people, who were quasi-transcendents, naturally couldn't withstand so many attacks. They quickly fell into a very troublesome situation. When he saw the quasi-transcendents die, he knew that he wouldn't be able to withstand Lin Feng and the others' attacks. He wanted to beg for mercy, but Lin Feng had no intention of letting him go. Therefore, he didn't beg Lin Feng for mercy. He tried to escape, but Lin Feng didn't give him the chance. When Lin Feng sensed that the quasi-transcendents of the Kinwu people wanted to escape, Lin Feng immediately used the Great Fate technique. The power of destiny surged into the body of this quasi-transcendent powerhouse and dissolved the secret technique that he was about to use to escape. That cultivator wanted to use a secret technique to escape, but it was useless. His face turned deathly pale. After a short time, Lin Feng and the others killed the cultivator of the Golden Crow clan who had broken through to the next cultivation level. Lin Feng then collected the quasi-transcendence source energy. Lin Feng and the others then attacked the quasi-transcendence of the ancient devil clan. The quasi-transcendence body exploded. Their bodies turned into billions of strands of devil chi. The strands of devil chi flew out. It was an extremely powerful escape technique, but it was very strange. As long as one strand of devil chi escaped, the quasi-transcendents would be able to regenerate their flesh and blood. Therefore, it was very difficult to dissolve this strange technique. After all, it was very difficult to block all the strands of devil chi. Lin Feng still used the Great Fate technique. He used the Great Fate technique to break the quasi-transcendence escape technique. The strands of devil chi once again condensed into the quasi-transcendence original body. Why is this happening? The quasi-transcendence of the ancient devil clan roared unwillingly. Die, Lin Feng said coldly. Then, all kinds of attacks bombarded the quasi-transcendence. After an hour, the quasi-transcendence of the ancient devil clan finally couldn't hold on any longer. They were killed by Lin Feng and the others' attacks. Lin Feng collected the quasi-transcendence source energy. The mysterious ancient emperor went to refine the origin source of the true immortal realm cultivators. Although he couldn't use the origin source of the true immortal realm cultivators, many of his people could still use it. In the distance, many people risked their lives to come and watch the battle. They saw everything that happened here from afar. More than 5,000 experts, 3 transcendents, and more than a dozen Sage Realm experts had all been killed. What a shocking thing this was. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and horror. They all looked at Lin Feng. They knew the ancient emperor of supreme mystery wasn't the one who had done all this. It was Lin Feng. Who the hell is he? Many people couldn't help but discuss. They were very curious about Lin Feng's identity. Many beautiful female cultivators looked at Lin Feng with burning eyes. They wanted nothing more than to throw themselves at Lin Feng. Such a handsome young man, and so strong, was a prince on a white horse. If Lin Feng curled his finger at these female cultivators, many of them would be willing to give themselves to him. But Lin Feng didn't have such thoughts right now. His mind was now focused on cultivating in seclusion. He wanted to refine the source energy to improve his cultivation. Lin Feng was very curious. He didn't know how much the source energy could improve his cultivation. As for the Kinwu people, the epic lost races, and the ancient devil clan, they were no longer a threat. Although they might have some saints, they probably didn't have any quasi-transcendence. If they weren't stupid, they would have fled the Great world as soon as they heard the news. If they didn't, Lin Feng wouldn't mind exterminating them after he came out of seclusion. Lin Feng then returned to the island. The people on the island also knew the result of the battle. They cheered loudly. Everyone looked at Lin Feng with admiration. Lin Feng was really too heaven-defying. If it wasn't for Lin Feng, the result wouldn't have been like this. After that, Lin Feng started meditating in seclusion. He entered time and space to meditate. Lin Feng devoured and refined all the source energy. After devouring all the source energy, Lin Feng broke through from the 3rd level of the Golden Immortal Realm to the 10th level of the Golden Immortal Realm. He didn't break through to the Saint Immortal Realm as Lin Feng had expected. However, although he didn't break through to the Saint Immortal Realm, Lin Feng was actually very satisfied with this seclusion. After all, Lin Feng's accumulation was too strong. It was indeed difficult for him to break through. This time, Lin Feng broke through 7 levels in one go. This kind of breakthrough was actually extremely heaven-defying. If he settled down for a while, he should be able to break through to the Saint Immortal Realm. Of course, breaking through to the Saint Celestial Layer was extremely difficult. Therefore, Lin Feng had to find some extremely strong opportunities to help him break through to the Saint Celestial Layer. That way, his chances of breaking through to the Saint Celestial Layer would increase. If he only relied on himself without the help of opportunities, it would be too difficult for him to break through. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, he learned from the profound ancient emperor that the cultivators of the Qinwu people, the ancient demon clan, and the epic lost race had all fled the great Yin world. The 3 clans had suffered such heavy losses that they shouldn't be much of a threat anymore. The profound ancient emperor intended to make this island the new ancestral land of the great ancient emperor. Because the array formations outside the island were terrifying enough, the profound ancient emperor also knew how to control these array formations. This place was the safest place. Even if they encountered any danger in the future, they could still reap the benefits of these array formations. They could also calmly deal with all kinds of dangers that appeared. Lin Feng rested for a few days after coming out of seclusion. He planned to leave the Great Yin world because Lin Feng still had to go to the buried God Star region. Therefore, he couldn't stay in this place for too long. Princess Yao Yao wanted to follow Lin Feng to the buried God Star region. However, because it was too dangerous, Lin Feng didn't let her follow him to the buried God Star region. After accompanying Princess Yao Yao for a few days, Lin Feng set off again. The ancient starship Xianyuan followed the Starry Sky route map and quickly flew in the direction of the buried God Star region. End of chapter. Chapter 5675. The Xianyuan ancient Starry Sky ship quickly flew through the Starry Sky world. What followed was another long journey. Lin Feng had inquired about it before and found that if they wanted to reach the buried God Star field, they would have to pass through at least 4 areas covered by magnetic fields, each more dangerous than the previous one. From this, one could imagine how dangerous the areas covered by magnetic fields were. About 2 years later, they arrived at the second area covered by the magnetic field. Outside the area covered by the second magnetic field, a large number of cultivators had gathered. These cultivators were pacing back and forth. They wanted to cross over, but it wasn't easy to do so. In fact, it wasn't impossible to cross over. Just like the epic lost race, some of the masterminds behind the scenes, or some alien life forms, had mastered the method to cross the magnetic field. However, ordinary cultivators couldn't master these methods. If they wanted to cross over, they would have to risk their lives to cross the area covered by the magnetic field. Over the past 2 years, Lin Feng had thoroughly stabilized his cultivation. Just like before, Lin Feng hadn't found a powerful opportunity yet. Therefore, if he wanted to break through, he still had to wait patiently. Lin Feng's trio flew down from the Xianyuan ancient Starry Sky ship. Lin Feng then put away the Xianyuan ancient Starry Sky ship. Then, they entered the area covered by the magnetic field. Lin Feng took out the heart compass. With the heart compass, they wouldn't get lost in the area covered by the magnetic field. The area covered by the second magnetic field was very dangerous. For example, one day, Lin Feng and the others saw a group of cultivators flying in front of them. Suddenly, those cultivators turned into ashes. After Lin Feng's trio saw this scene, their faces turned pale with fright. They hadn't noticed anything unusual at all. Those people had turned into ashes. They had died a miserable death. However, since they died in this place, it meant that there must be some unknown dangers in the area ahead. Therefore, Lin Feng's trio quickly took a detour and didn't dare to continue along the ancient road. A few days later, Lin Feng and the others saw auroras flying in the distance. Those auroras streaked across the sky. The world seemed to be on the verge of extinction. The power of those auroras was too terrifying. Lin Feng didn't dare to hesitate. He quickly took Du Zhu and Heretic Venerable Holy and quickly left through the void. However, there were still some cultivators in that area who hadn't left in time. When the auroras shone on them, their flesh and blood instantly disappeared. Only blood-stained skeletons were left. Those auroras, not only were they extremely strange, but they were also extremely terrifying, gave people a creepy, venerable feeling. The skeletons were quickly devoured by the dark, starry sky world. And the others? They became even more careful, because the region where... But since Linfeng and the others had entered the second magnetic field, they hadn't seen anything like that. Even if they hadn't seen anything, they still had to be careful. Although that terrifying existence didn't appear, the level of danger here had already exceeded the region covered by the first magnetic field. If they let their guard down a little here, it was very likely that he would die without a burial ground. Therefore, in the region covered by the second magnetic field, Linfeng and the others had been extremely nervous. Sometimes, you had to be nervous. If you weren't nervous, it would be easy to let your guard down. Once you let your guard down, your perception of the outside world and your prediction of danger would be greatly reduced. Once one's perception of the outside world and their ability to predict danger were greatly reduced, the consequences would be extremely terrifying. It was very likely that they would lose their lives here. Linfeng was very clear about this situation. On this day, Linfeng and the others felt violent fluctuations coming from the left. There was a great battle on the left. Originally, Linfeng didn't intend to meddle in other people's business. However, Linfeng sensed a rather familiar aura. After sensing that familiar aura, Linfeng decided to take a look at the place where the battle was taking place. Linfeng, Duzu, and the evil dominator wholly flew towards the direction of the battle. When they arrived, Linfeng was shocked. One side of the battle was actually the Emperor Brush. When Linfeng rescued the Emperor Brush said that he had an extremely important matter to attend to. Then, the Emperor Brush left the undying world. Linfeng didn't see the Emperor Brush again after that. He didn't expect to see it here. The ones fighting the Emperor Brush were more than a dozen evil spirit warriors. The evil spirit warriors were creatures from the world of the mastermind. Linfeng had seen them a few times before. These evil spirit warriors were considered low-level creatures in the world of the mastermind. However, even so, their strength was extremely terrifying. Although the Emperor Brush didn't show any signs of defeat, he was still outnumbered. If the battle dragged on, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. Linfeng quickly flew towards the battlefield. Linfeng summoned the Book of the Dead. 56 specters flew out. The specters began to attack the evil spirit warriors. The group of evil spirit warriors' faces turned extremely ugly. The leader of the evil spirit warriors stared coldly at Linfeng and roared furiously. "Who are you, brat? How dare you meddle in our business? Do you know who we are?" Linfeng sneered. "Aren't you just a bunch of lowly creatures from the mastermind's world?" Hearing Linfeng's words, the evil spirit warriors were almost angered to death. Although they were low-level creatures in the world of the mastermind, they were high and mighty existences in the outside world. They looked down on other races. But now, someone actually dared to call them lowly creatures. How could these evil spirit warriors accept this? The group of evil spirit warriors looked at Linfeng with murderous gazes. These evil spirit warriors wanted to kill Linfeng. However, they were attacked by 56 specters. Although these evil spirit warriors were very powerful, they couldn't withstand the attacks of 56 specters. Soon, more than a dozen evil spirit warriors were killed. Linfeng still had some questions to ask the leader of the evil spirit warriors. Therefore, the leader of the evil spirit warriors wasn't killed. Instead, he was suppressed and became Linfeng's prisoner. Chapter 56-76. I didn't expect to see you here, Senior. Linfeng looked at the Emperor Brush and said. When the Emperor Brush saw Linfeng, he was surprised and asked, "What are you doing here?" Linfeng replied, "I'm planning to go to the buried god's starfield." "Why are you here, Senior?" The Emperor Brush replied, "I'm here to find something that can restore my divine power." "Oh, there's something here that can restore your divine power." Linfeng was surprised. The Emperor Brush had been sealed for many years, so his cultivation was far from his peak. Therefore, it wouldn't be easy for him to restore his divine power quickly. He needed to find something that could restore his divine power, but Linfeng didn't know what it was. However, the Emperor Brush shouldn't have left the undying world in a hurry because of this. Lin Feng was interested in the conflict between the Emperor Brush and the evil spirit warriors. Lin Feng asked, "Why did Senior get into a conflict with these evil spirit warriors?" The Emperor Brush replied, "These evil spirit warriors sensed the aura of the human emperor in my body, so they wanted to capture me," said Lin Feng, nodding. Immediately after, he arrived in front of the evil spirit warrior. The evil spirit warrior looked at Lin Feng with hatred. If they joined hands, how strong would they be? If it wasn't for Lin Feng, the evil spirit warriors would have been able to capture the Emperor Brush. They wouldn't have ended up like this. Now, he was Lin Feng's prisoner. He might die in Lin Feng's hands later. Of course, he hated Lin Feng to the core. He wished he could cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. Lin Feng didn't say much to the evil spirit warrior. He directly used a soul-searching technique on the evil spirit warrior. Lin Feng wanted to find some useful information from the evil spirit warrior's mind, such as information about the mastermind's world or other secrets. However, when Lin Feng used the soul-searching technique on the evil spirit warrior, the evil spirit warrior's soul was instantly destroyed. This was because there was a powerful restriction in the evil spirit warrior's soul. If others tried to search for the secrets in its soul, or if the evil spirit warrior wanted to reveal some secrets, he would be attacked by the restriction. Only death awaited him then. The evil spirit warrior died tragically. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He had wanted to get some secrets from the evil spirit warrior, but it seemed like his wish had come to naught. The evil spirit warrior's corpse fell into the darkness. Lin Feng looked at the Emperor Brush and asked, "Senior, where are you going?" The Emperor Brush replied, "I'm going to look for the ruler of this place. The ruler of this magnetic field should be an extremely terrifying existence, right?" Lin Feng asked. "Yes, the ruler here is extremely terrifying. But back in the days, that ruler had some connections with the human emperor, and he's an old friend of mine. He has some things I need, so I want to go and have a look," said Lin Feng. The Emperor Brush explained. Lin Feng thought for a moment and said, "Then I'll go with you to take a look. If there are any unforeseen circumstances, we can take care of each other." The Emperor Brush nodded. They didn't stay there for long. They quickly left. 3 days later, they passed through an extremely terrifying magnetic field. Then, in the depths of the magnetic field, they saw a huge palace floating in the void. The palace was actually a palace made of white bones. "Is the palace where the ruler lives?" Lin Feng asked. The Emperor Brush nodded and said, "That's right. This is where he lives. That palace of bones is actually a terrifying treasure. That strong cultivator has spent his entire life refining it." Lin Feng asked, "Is he an expert from the netherworld?" The Emperor Brush nodded and said, "He is indeed an expert from the netherworld. He came from the netherworld to the Yang realm and occupied this starry sky world. He became the ruler of this starry sky world. This was because the ruler wasn't a cultivation realm, but a title. Therefore, there was a huge difference in the strength of these rulers. For example, the ruler of the Deathly Zone, the ruler of the Forbidden Zone, the ruler of this starry sky world, the ruler of the Wasteland world, and so on. The cultivation bases of these rulers were clearly different. However, those who dared to call themselves rulers were usually extremely powerful existences. Lin Feng's group of 4 arrived outside the palace. The Emperor Brush said, "An old friend has come to visit. I didn't expect you to still be alive." A voice came from the palace. The Emperor Brush said, "Unless the Emperor Brush is destroyed, I will never die. Since you were able to find me, this is the will of the heavens. Come in." As soon as he finished speaking, then the door of the palace opened. Then they flew towards the Great Hall of Bones. Then they entered the Great Hall of Bones. Lin Feng saw that there was a throne of bones in the depths of the palace. On top of it sat a skeleton wearing a yellow robe and a crown. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive when he saw the skeleton's attire. This guy was actually wearing a yellow robe and a crown. It seemed like he was quite particular. He must be a very powerful person. "Skeleton Sovereign, I think you should know why I'm here, right?" The Emperor Brush said. The Skeleton Sovereign said, "Of course I know why you're here. The 9th Emperor left something for me. I've been keeping it for you." The Skeleton Sovereign took out an item that was surrounded by holy light. Lin Feng didn't know what it was exactly, but it should be a treasure that could help the Emperor Brush recover its godly energy. The item flew towards the Emperor Brush, and the Emperor Brush kept it. The skeleton sovereign said, "The bloodline of the brat beside you is really strong. How about we make a deal? If you let him stay, I can give you some good stuff." Lin Feng was speechless when he heard the skeleton sovereign's words. This guy was actually targeting him. However, Lin Feng had many tricks up his sleeve, and he had the Emperor Brush with him. He had nothing to fear. The Emperor Brush said, "I can't agree to that." The skeleton sovereign said, "What if I insist on letting him stay?" The Emperor Brush said, "Then we can only fight." "Ha ha ha, I'm just joking with you," the skeleton sovereign said with a smile. Then, he said seriously, "However, this brat seems a little similar to someone I knew in the past." Lin Feng couldn't help but ask, "What's the name of the person you knew?" The skeleton sovereign said, "He's called Lin Beitian." Chapter 5677. Lin Feng was surprised that the skeletal monarch had seen his father before. However, Lin Feng remembered that his father had tried to rescue his mother. Therefore, if Lin Li's father really came over, he should have taken this ancient starry sky path. It seemed to be quite normal for the skeletal monarch to have seen his father. The skeletal monarch continued, "Your bloodline is very similar to Lin Baitian's. You must be his relative, right?" "He's my father," Lin Feng said. Lin Feng asked, "How did you meet him back then?" "Back then, when he passed by here, I saw him fighting with a group of masters from the Mastermind's world. Then, he killed all the masters from the Mastermind's world. But at that time, there was something wrong with him. He seemed to have been planted by someone. He was in a half-conscious, half-lost state. Then, I brought him to my Whitebone Palace. I wanted to devour him to improve my cultivation, but I failed. Instead, I was injured by his domineering aura. I still feel very depressed when I think about it." Later, he woke up in my palace. After chatting with him, I learned that his name was Lin Beitian. He was a cultivator from the 9 continents world. Actually, I've never heard of that name before. But even though I've never heard of him, he's killed so many strong cultivators from the Mastermind's world. Such a person can compete with the strongest cultivators of this epoch. Lin Feng asked, "What happened after that? Where did my father go?" "Your father left along the ancient path of stars," the skeletal monarch said. Lin Feng couldn't help but have a lot of thoughts. He wondered if his father had reached the buried god's starfield. Lin Feng asked, "How many years ago was that?" The skeleton sovereign replied, "It's been about 200 years. 200 years was a very, very long time ago." Lin Feng's heart was filled with mixed feelings. He wondered what happened to his father after that. Did he manage to rescue his mother? Lin Feng had lost contact with his father long ago. Now, he could only wait until he reached the buried god's starfield. Only then would he be able to find out more information. Lin Feng looked at the Emperor Brush and said, "Senior, let's leave now." The Emperor Brush nodded. Lin Feng and the others didn't stay there. They left the palace because they were friends with the skeleton monarch. Therefore, they were able to leave the star field that was enveloped by the magnetic field without any hindrance. After leaving, Lin Feng summoned the ancient ship Xianyuan. They boarded the ancient ship Xianyuan. They continued to travel through the star field. The Emperor Brush went to refine the mysterious item that could recover his godly power. The brush was an extremely terrifying existence in the past. If he could recover his divine power, his cultivation would definitely increase by a large margin. This was something Lin Feng wanted. After all, he and the Emperor's relationship. Naturally, Lin Feng hoped that his friend's cultivation increase. After 3 months, the Emperor Brush came out of seclusion. Lin Feng felt that the Emperor Brush was different from before. It was a very special feeling. Lin Feng didn't know what was different about the Emperor Brush. However, this feeling was very strong. Lin Feng guessed that it was because the Emperor Brush's cultivation had recovered. Was that why he had such a feeling? He wondered how much of the Emperor Brush's cultivation had recovered. Lin Feng hoped that the Emperor Brush would follow him to the buried god's starfield to rescue his mother. However, Lin Feng didn't know if the Emperor Brush had other matters to attend to. Therefore, Lin Feng asked, Senior, do you have other matters to attend to? If not, why don't you follow me to the buried god's starfield? The Emperor Brush nodded and said, I have already settled my matters. I can follow you to the buried god's starfield. Lin Feng was overjoyed to hear the Emperor Brush's words. With the help of the Emperor Brush, it would be a great help to Lin Feng. In the next few years, the Xuanwu Starfield continued to explore the starfield. The Xinyuan ancient spaceship continued to sail through the starry sky world. 5 years later, they arrived at the periphery of the third magnetic field. The third magnetic field was much more terrifying than the first and second magnetic fields. They hadn't entered the magnetic field yet. Lin Feng could already feel the terrifying aura within the magnetic field. Lin Feng and the rest flew down from the Xinyuan starfield. Then, Lin Feng kept the Xinyuan starfield. There were many cultivators gathered outside the third magnetic field, but those cultivators didn't dare to enter the starry sky world enveloped by the third magnetic field. At this moment, the Emperor Brush said, This magnetic field isn't simple. Back then, I came here with the 9th Emperor. However, this place was too terrifying. We couldn't pass through it and had to retreat. Senior, what dangers did you encounter in this magnetic field? Lin Feng asked curiously. The Emperor Brush continued, At that time, we encountered an unknown existence. He appeared silently, and many people died tragically. However, no one was able to find him. His methods were too terrifying. That's why we retreated. The unknown was often the scariest. The terrifying existence that the Emperor Brush mentioned had killed so many people, but no one was able to find him. If someone could find him, no matter how powerful he was, they wouldn't be so afraid of him. After all, if they could find him, they could join forces to deal with him. They might even be able to defeat him. However, they couldn't find him at all. They didn't know what kind of existence he was. This existence had always been hiding in the dark, like a venomous snake hiding in the darkness. He could unleash a sure kill attack on any cultivator standing in the open at any time. This was simply too terrifying. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. What if he bumped into such a strong cultivator? That would be too terrifying. However, no matter how dangerous this magnetic field was, Lin Feng had to pass through it. Lin Feng could only hope that they wouldn't encounter this terrifying existence. It would be troublesome if they were to encounter such a terrifying existence. End of chapter. Chapter 5678. The Emperor Brush continued, I know you have a complete map of the starry sky, but I'm afraid it won't be that easy if we want to rely on our own methods. There should be some cultivators in this place who have some special methods. They might be able to bring us there. We can follow them. After hearing the Emperor Brush's words, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It would be great if there were such people, Lin Feng said. Then let's look around and see if there are such people. The Emperor Brush continued, even if there really is such a person, we have to be on guard against them. This is because people like them will often secretly kill those people after receiving their commission. Then, they will steal all the treasures of those people. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched slightly after hearing the Emperor Brush's words. Lin Feng said, Is it worth working with such people? The Emperor Brush replied, Not everyone is in this line of work. Sometimes, there are people who follow the rules. As for whether we can meet these people, it depends on our luck. If we're lucky, we'll meet these well-behaved people. If we follow these well-behaved people into the magnetic field, we might be able to pass through smoothly. If we follow those ill-behaved people, they'll definitely think of ways to deal with us on the way. If we really meet such a situation, we will capture them and force them to bring us along. Lin Feng nodded. This method was very feasible. After all, Lin Feng and the rest were very strong. It wouldn't be easy to plot against them. Lin Feng asked Du Zhu and the heretical sovereign saint to scout for information. They wanted to see if there were such people as the Emperor Brush said. However, Du Zhu and the heretical sovereign saint didn't manage to find out anything. The Emperor Brush frowned and said, There were people in this business in the past. Could it be that no one is doing this anymore? Said Lin Feng. Maybe. After all, the situation back then is completely different now, said Lin Feng. The Emperor Brush said, If no one is doing this business, then we can only pass through on our own. Although the first and second magnetic fields were more dangerous, it wasn't a problem to pass through if one was strong enough. However, the third magnetic field had one or more mysterious existences. It was indeed too dangerous to pass through. Either you have some special means, and you can use these special means to travel to the past, or you could pray that you wouldn't meet any terrifying existences in the dark. However, if you met any terrifying existences in the dark, there was a high chance that you would die here. However, Lin Feng's way of doing things. He liked to take everything into consideration, including the dangerous situations he might encounter. Only in this way could he control everything in his own hands. Only in this way could he control his own fate. All right, let's take a break and enter the third magnetic field, Lin Feng said. Everyone nodded. At this moment, a young man flew over with a fan in his hand. He arrived beside Lin Feng and the others. He cupped his fists and asked, "Were the few of you trying to find out about the cultivator who does that kind of special business?" Lin Feng nodded and said, "That's right. We were looking for them. Do you know anything about them?" The young man said, "I do know someone who can bring others through this magnetic field." Lin Feng and the others' eyes lit up. Obviously, not everyone could come into contact with people who did this kind of business. That was why it was difficult to obtain information about them. Lin Feng guessed that the other party would be secretly observing the people here to see if they had enough money to bring them through. If they brought people with ordinary wealth over, they would take such a huge risk. Even if they killed them halfway, they wouldn't be able to obtain anything. They wouldn't be able to obtain many treasures. That was why they had to choose a group of people from this group to scout for information. These people were usually people with extraordinary backgrounds and had many treasures on them. It was best if they weren't particularly strong. Lin Feng was very strong. However, Lin Feng was only at the Golden Immortal Realm. Du Zhu and the Heretic Sovereign Sage were even worse. They were only at the Tao Immortal Realm. As for the Emperor Brush, it was a special life form. Even Lin Feng couldn't sense its cultivation level. Perhaps special life forms like them couldn't be measured by the cultivation level of ordinary cultivators. Therefore, in other people's eyes, even though Lin Feng and the others were strong, they weren't at the top of the world. Lin Feng and the others didn't seem ordinary. They should have some good stuff on them. That was the reason why the young man had come looking for Lin Feng. Lin Feng asked, "Brother, can you introduce us?" The young man suddenly hesitated, as if he had something he couldn't say. He had been rather enthusiastic just a moment ago. Yet, at this very moment, he actually had such a troubled look on his face. Lin Feng immediately knew what he was planning. This person obviously wanted some benefits. Lin Feng didn't say much. He took out 1,000,000 immortal stones and gave them to the young man. He said, "This is a small token of my appreciation." The young man put the immortal stones away and said enthusiastically, "Sir, come with me. I'll take you there." Lin Feng nodded. Then, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Heretic Sovereign Sage followed the young man and flew into the distance. Half an hour later, they saw a huge ancient starry sky ship. The ancient ship was rather special. This was because the ancient starry sky ship was already very dilapidated. It even had a decaying feeling. A gust of wind blew over, as if it could blow the ancient ship apart. The young man said, "That senior is in this ancient ship." Lin Feng asked curiously, "How should I address that senior?" The young man said, "Everyone calls him Old Blind." Old Blind? When Lin Feng heard that name, he couldn't help but frown. End of chapter. Chapter 5679. When they arrived at the cabin, they saw 4 people sitting inside. One of them was an old man. The old man's body was extremely thin. His hair was white, and his eyes were blind. There were no black pupils in his eyes, only white. He looked very strange. The old man was clearly the blind old man that the young man had mentioned. Apart from the old man, there were 3 other people, 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men was middle-aged, while the other looked rather young. However, when they sensed it, they didn't seem particularly young either. They had cultivated for more than 100,000 years. As for the woman, she was a middle-aged woman. The 3 of them should have come here for the same reason as Lin Feng's group. The young man said, Rest here for a bit. When it's time to depart, the blind old man will tell you." Lin Feng's group nodded, then found a place to rest. The young master left the dilapidated ancient ship. He was probably going out to do business. After Lin Feng's group arrived, the other people narrowed their eyes and observed Lin Feng's group. When they saw that Lin Feng's group didn't seem to be very strong, they lost interest and withdrew their gazes. For the next few days, Lin Feng's group stayed in the dilapidated ship. Then, more than 10 cultivators arrived one after another. There were men and women, young and old. At this time, the blind old man stood up and said, "I only bring 20 people with me every time I go on a mission. Everyone is here now." Someone asked, "How many immortal stones do we have to pay for you to bring us through this magnetic field?" The blind old man said, "I don't want low-grade or mid-grade immortal stones. I want high-grade immortal stones. 50 million per person." After hearing this price, many people couldn't help but be shocked. 50 million per person? This price was too high. After all, these were high-grade immortal stones. They weren't mid-grade or low-grade immortal stones. 50 million high-grade immortal stones were equivalent to 500 billion low-grade immortal stones if they were exchanged for low-grade immortal stones. Therefore, this price was indeed a bit too high. At this time, the blind old man continued, "I'm sure that with your connections, you should know that other than me, there are a few other people who have special maps that can bring you through. However, you should know that some people have ulterior motives. Perhaps you only need to pay them 20 or 30 million high-grade immortal stones for them to bring you through this magnetic field. However, have you considered one thing? If those people want to kill you on the way and rob you of all your treasures, will you be able to resist? My price might be a bit high, but I can guarantee that I won't cheat you along the way." After hearing Old Blind's words, someone immediately said, "How can we believe you? Unless you swear that you won't do anything to us along the way. Only then will we trust you." The blind old man said, "People who do business like us never swear. So if you want me to swear, it's absolutely impossible. If you trust me, you can stay here and give me the immortal stones. If you don't, you can leave now." The cultivator slightly frowned. However, he didn't leave. At this time, someone said, "Can we pay a portion first? After you successfully bring us through this magnetic field, we'll pay the other portion." The blind old man said, "I don't have such a rule here. My rule is to pay in one go. If you can't pay in one go, then you can only leave the ship." Lin Feng said, "All right, we'll pay in one go then." Lin Feng took out 200 million high-grade immortal stones and gave them to the blind old man. The blind old man said, "Young man, you're a straightforward person." Lin Feng smiled and didn't say anything else. To others, 200 million high-grade immortal stones might be an unimaginable amount, but to Lin Feng, it was just a hair from 9 oxen. After all, Lin Feng had obtained several hundred billion high-grade immortal stones in the time reversal world. Therefore, 200 million high-grade immortal stones were naturally nothing to him. After seeing Lin Feng pay the 200 million high-grade immortal stones, the blind old man nodded. After hesitating for a bit, the others also gave their high-grade immortal stones to the blind old man. The blind old man said, "Rest for a day. We'll leave tomorrow. If you have anything else you want to do, you can do it now. However, you must come back before noon tomorrow. Because we'll leave on an auspicious day, we won't miss it because we're waiting for someone." Some people left the ship to do something, perhaps to say goodbye to their relatives or friends. There were also many people who didn't leave, waiting for the ship to depart. Lin Feng and the others didn't leave the ship either. On the second day, the people who left returned one after another. When noon arrived, the blind old man said, "Everyone, the exciting space voyage is about to begin. Get ready. We'll set off immediately." As soon as the blind old man finished speaking, the dilapidated starry sky ancient ship started and flew towards the starry sky world covered by the magnetic field. At this moment, a cultivator said, "Blind old man, if we take the ancient ship into the magnetic field, won't we be too big of a target? If that's the case, won't we become living targets for the terrifying existences inside?" The blind old man laughed strangely and said, "Don't worry, there won't be any problems." The cultivator frowned slightly. He wasn't satisfied with the blind old man's answer. but he could only suppress the worry in his heart for now. At this time, the dilapidated starry sky ancient ship entered the starry sky world shrouded by the magnetic field. When this dilapidated starry sky ancient ship entered the starry sky world shrouded by the magnetic field, something shocking suddenly happened. This was because some of the array formations on the ancient starry sky ship had been activated. This array formation was actually an invisibility array formation. When this array formation was activated, the ancient starry sky ship became invisible. This was truly a powerful technique. Lin Feng was extremely shocked, because this invisibility array wasn't recorded in the stone scripture. However, Lin Feng knew that a long time ago, someone had indeed researched this invisibility array. However, it had been lost a long time ago. Now, the invisibility array had reappeared on this dilapidated ancient ship. Lin Feng wondered if he could make a deal with the blind old man and use some treasures to exchange for the invisibility array. End of chapter. Chapter 5680. The ancient ship quickly flew through the starry sky world enveloped by the magnetic field. Since the ship was invisible, they did not encounter any dangers along the way. One had to admit that the ancient ship was very powerful. Although it was impossible to shield them from all dangers, it could at least shield them from 80% of the dangers. The remaining 20% was something they might not necessarily encounter. Therefore, if they were lucky, they might be able to silently pass through the starry sky world enveloped by the magnetic field. Of course, this was something Lin Feng and the others hoped to see. Being able to pass through safely was the most practical thing. They did not want to experience anything shocking here. If he were to experience those soul-stirring events, who knew if he would be buried here? Some people wanted to go out and take a look at the scenery outside. After all, looking out through the small window in the cabin was completely different from looking out from the deck. Seeing that some people wanted to go out, old Blindy said, "I advise everyone to stay in the cabin and not go out." Although the entire ancient ship is enveloped by a great formation, there are some unimaginably terrifying existences in this place. They have terrifying senses. The moment you leave the ancient ship and reach the deck, your auras might leak out. If your information is leaked, you might implicate everyone here and die here. After hearing old Blindy's words, the few cultivators who wanted to go out paled. They naturally did not want to die here, so they sat back down. Lin Feng walked toward old Blindy. Lin Feng said, "Old Blindy, how about we make a deal?" The blind old man replied, "I've never made any deals with anyone." Lin Feng said, "Look at what you're saying. You haven't even heard my conditions. How do you know you won't make a deal with me?" The others looked at Lin Feng curiously, wondering what kind of deal Lin Feng wanted to make with old Blindy. They pricked up their ears and listened to the conversation between Lin Feng and old Blindy. Old Blindy could not help but ponder. In fact, although Old Blind was blind, he was still able to see. But he was very capable. He could sense that among these people, Lin Feng and the others were the most extraordinary ones. Since Lin Feng wanted to make a deal, Old Blind wanted to see what Lin Feng wanted to do. Old Blind stood up and walked towards the second floor. The ancient ship had a total of 3 floors. Now that everyone was on the first floor, there was no one on the second floor. Lin Feng also followed Old Blind to the second floor. Old Blind asked, "May I know what kind of deal you wish to make with me, young friend?" Lin Feng said, "I'm very interested in the invisibility formation here. I want to obtain it." The blind old man laughed strangely and said, "The invisibility formation is my unique technique. I dare say that I'm the only one in the entire universe who can use it. The reason I was able to pass through the magnetic field is all thanks to this invisibility grand array. If I tell you about this invisibility grand array, wouldn't I be ruining my own business?" Clearly, Old Blind had no intention of making a deal with Lin Feng. It was understandable that Old Blind was worried about these things. After all, Old Blind did not know Lin Feng's background. If Lin Feng obtained the method to set up the invisibility formation from Old Blind, Lin Feng could sell it to someone else. At that time, Lin Feng would make a fortune, and Old Blind's unique technique would be leaked. If his competitors found out about it, he would no longer be able to do business. If that was the case, he would not be able to do any business in the future. All of his businesses would be snatched away by others. Lin Feng knew what Old Blind was worried about. He said, "Senior, don't worry. I won't teach this invisibility formation to anyone else. I'll only be using it for myself." Old Blind said, "Whether you use it for yourself or teach it to someone else, it has nothing to do with me. I have no intention of teaching it to anyone else." After saying that, the Old Blind Man walked up to the first floor. Lin Feng said, "Everyone has their own destiny, especially at the end of the epoch. Destiny seemed to be death. Who could break this destiny? Senior, do you think you can break the destiny of death?" Old Blind stopped and asked, "What do you mean by that?" Lin Feng said, "What I'm trying to say is that after the end of the epoch will be destroyed. The destinies of countless living beings have long been determined. Breaking this destiny is extremely difficult. It just so happens that I have a divine ability here. It's called the Grand Fate Art. If you can comprehend the Grand Fate Art, you'll be able to change your destiny. Old Blind, are you interested in this divine ability? The Grand Fate Art, ranked second among the 3,000 great Daos? You actually cultivated such a divine ability?" Old Blind said in shock. The Grand Fate Art wasn't the Great Fate Art, nor was it as powerful as the Great Fate Art. However, the Grand Fate Art was related to certain things related to destiny. Sometimes, destiny and destiny seem to be intertwined. If one could cultivate the Grand Fate Art, the benefits one would receive would be unimaginable. The Grand Fate Art was already attractive enough. And now, it was the end of the epoch. Who knew when the epoch would be destroyed? Perhaps it would be destroyed next year, or the year after that. No matter how long the epoch was, it wouldn't take thousands or tens of thousands of years for it to be destroyed, no matter how long it took. In other words, the epoch might be destroyed in the next few decades or even a century. How many people would die during the epoch's destruction? Old Blind didn't know if he would be able to survive. But Old Blind still wanted to try his luck, even if the chances of success were slim. However, if he could obtain Lin Feng's Grand Fate Art, in that case, the probability of survival would be greatly increased. As such, at this very moment, when Lin Feng mentioned the Grand Fate Art, Old Blind was tempted. Old Blind said, "Are you sure you won't impart the invisibility formation that I taught you to others?" Lin Feng said, "Of course not. Since we're making a deal, let's follow the rules. Whether it's the Grand Fate Art that I taught you or the invisibility formation that you taught me, we need to keep it a secret. We can't impart these things to others." Old Blind said, "I'm an old-fashioned person, and I like to abide by these rules. That's why I'm naturally able to abide by them. What I'm most afraid of is that youngsters like you won't be able to abide by them." Lin Feng said, "You don't have to worry about that. I've always kept my word." Old Blind nodded, then took out a jade tube and handed it to Lin Feng. Lin Feng also took out a jade tube and handed it to Old Blind. End of chapter. Chapter 5681. Lin Feng and Old Blind Man each took a jade tube and used their spiritual will to scan the contents. Lin Feng found that there was no problem with the array recorded inside, and a smile appeared on his face. Of course, there was no problem with the Great Fate technique that Lin Feng gave Old Blind Man. Old Blind Man should be able to tell. Soon, Old Blind Man smiled as well. The cooperation this time was quite pleasant. The two of them chatted and laughed as they reached the first floor. Seeing the two of them coming down, everyone wanted to know what kind of transaction they had completed. As for what kind of transaction they had completed, no one knew. They could only guess in their hearts. In the following period of time, the ancient ship continued to travel in an invisible state. However, the starry sky world enveloped by the third magnetic field was not peaceful. There were dangers everywhere. The ancient ship they were on was always in an invisible state. That was why they were able to successfully avoid these dangers. About a month had passed. He did not see the other ancient ships in front of him. The blind old man said, "Those ancient ships are controlled by another power. Riding on their ancient ships, it would be impossible for us to escape. You only need to pay 20 million high-grade immortal stones." After hearing this, the corners of many people's mouths twitched slightly. Old Blind Man continued, "You must feel uncomfortable because you spent too much immortal stones on this old man's ship. right? But there's no other way. Before we set off, I told you about the stakes. You didn't leave this old man's ship, right? Now, everyone was starting to doubt Old Blind Man's claim that the people on the ancient ships would kill the customers and steal their treasures was true. But since they had already paid, there was no point in saying anything. At this moment, the ancient ships in front of them emitted intense waves of energy. Clearly, there was a huge battle on the ancient ships. Next, they saw some cultivators rushing out from the dolls on the ancient ships to the deck. Then, more cultivators rushed out and started fighting with them. The first to rush out were the cultivators who wanted to escape. Those cultivators who wanted to escape were quickly killed. It didn't take long for the several starry skies ancient ships to calm down. After seeing this, many people's faces turned pale. Not long ago, they were still doubting Old Blind Man's words. For example, killing customers and stealing their treasures. Now that they saw it, they felt that spending 50 million high-grade immortal stones was a waste. But now, they were rejoicing. What were immortal stones compared to one's life? It was nothing at all. At the very least, it was safer to follow Old Blind Man. If they followed those people, they might even lose their lives here. After another month, Lin Feng and the others saw the fleet again. However, the situation seemed a little strange this time. Those ancient ships were floating in the void, motionless. Everyone's expression couldn't help but change. One of the cultivators said, "There's something wrong with those ships. Should we go up there and check them?" The blind old man's voice trembled as he said, "Don't say anything. Let's quickly leave this place." When they heard Blind Man's trembling voice, they felt that the situation's Blind Man. Old Blind Man had always been very calm, but at this moment, his voice was trembling. Compared to the usually calm and composed Old Blind Man, it was as if he was a completely different person. Clearly, the situation before them was not good. Even Old Blind Man was afraid. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the strange existence that Emperor Brush had mentioned. Could it be that the strange existence had appeared here? Did the cultivators on those ancient ships die because of it? Thinking about that, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. This situation was extremely bad. However, the only thing worth rejoicing about was that the ancient ship they were on could turn invisible. If this ancient ship could deceive the heavens and the sea, and those strange existences, then they would be able to leave this place quietly. No one dared to speak anymore. They were all praying that the ancient ship could leave quietly. The ancient ship left the region at an extremely fast speed. After flying for more than 1,000 miles, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They had flown for such a long distance without any special movements. Did that mean that those strange and terrifying existences hadn't discovered them? Now that everyone had relaxed, they couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Old Blind's ancient ship that could turn invisible was indeed very powerful. "I was almost scared to death just now," one of the cultivators said. "I wonder what kind of attack they suffered." Another cultivator said. A third cultivator said, "This place is too dangerous. We didn't see what happened to the ships with our own eyes, so we can't be sure what kind of terrifying existence attacked them. However, I feel that they suffered because there were more ships, making them a bigger target. In addition, when they fought a life and death battle, there were some places that weren't cleaned up. It might have attracted some terrifying existence." Everyone was talking at the same time. Many people were very curious about the unknown existence that attacked the ships. They kept talking about it. Old Blind Man said in a deep voice, "In this place, don't ever think about exploring the unknown and terrifying existence because nobody knows what they are. The only thing we need to do is to leave this place as soon as possible." Everyone nodded. However, at that moment, the ancient ship shook violently. "What's going on?" Everyone's expression changed. The ancient ship was supposed to be very stable. Why had it suddenly started shaking? Old Blind Man stood up abruptly. His expression was uncertain. At that moment, the ancient ship shook again. It seemed like something was shaking the ancient ship. This situation, everyone's hearts were in their mouths. Could we have been discovered by some strange existence? Suddenly, a cultivator said with a quavering voice. The faces of the others turned pale. If they were discovered by some terrifying existence, then they would be in trouble. Perhaps what they had to face was death. Old Blind Man said, "Don't speak nonsense." The others turned pale and didn't dare to say anything else. The ancient ship shook more and more violently. Not long after, Lin Feng felt a gloomy and cold aura fill the air. His expression changed drastically. It seemed like some kind of power had penetrated the ancient ship's defensive restrictions and was entering the ship. Chapter 5682. The Emperor Brush also sensed the strange energy seeping into the ancient ship. "Be careful. A strange energy is seeping in," the Emperor Brush said. Lin Feng nodded and looked at Blind Man. Lin Feng believed that Blind Man had experienced something similar before. After all, Blind Man had been running this business for a long time. He should have encountered something similar before. Lin Feng wanted to see if Blind Man had a way to solve this problem. If he couldn't, he would think of something else. If worst came to worst, they would have to escape. If they escaped, they would have to rely on their own methods. If they died here, they could only blame themselves for not being strong enough. Lin Feng looked at Blind Man and asked, "Blind Man, a strange energy is seeping in. It seems like an unknown existence will enter the ship soon. Do you have a way to deal with it?" Blind Man didn't answer Lin Feng's question. Instead, he continued, "I can sense this energy as well. Could it be the legendary?" Blind Man thought of something, but he didn't say it out loud. "What is it?" someone asked. Blind Man said, "It's an existence that I can't tell you. If I do, it will be even more troublesome." "What should we do now?" someone asked. Many people's faces were extremely pale because the unknown in the third magnetic field was too terrifying. This made everyone feel helpless. Now, everyone could only place their hopes on Old Blind. They hoped that Blind Man would be able to think of a way to solve this crisis. Blind Man said, "Don't worry, I still have some tricks up my sleeve." With that, Old Blind took out an ancient bronze lamp and lit it up. Bursts of black light gushed out from the ancient bronze lamp, enveloping the entire ancient city. Lin Feng had seen Buddha resin before. Some people used it to expel evil, but the material in Blind Man's lamp wasn't Buddha resin. Lin Feng wasn't too sure what it was. When the dark energy enveloped the entire ancient ship, the ancient ship was completely enveloped by the dark energy. Everyone realized that the unknown existence that was shaking the ancient ship had stopped moving. The ancient ship became stable again. Everyone was pleasantly surprised, and then someone asked, "Senior, what is inside this ancient bronze lamp? It can actually scare off an unknown existence?" Old Blind replied, "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask." The cultivator who asked this question smiled awkwardly. The ancient starship continued to sail through the starry sky world. About 2 months later, the blind old man said, "We're almost out." Everyone heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this. This magnetic field was too large. Who knows how it formed in the past to cover such a large area? Fortunately, they were about to leave. If they continued to stay in this starry sky world for a while, everyone felt that they might go crazy. The next part of the journey seemed to be easier. As they were about to leave the starry sky world, the dangers were gradually decreasing. In fact, the most dangerous area was the central region. Lin Feng's group was quite lucky. The real danger they encountered was when the ancient ship was shaken by an unknown existence. Fortunately, they managed to resolve that danger. However, Blind Man's expression didn't relax. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Logically speaking, they should be in the outer region of the magnetic field. Why did Blind Man have such an expression? Lin Feng asked curiously, "Blind Man, do you feel that something is wrong?" Old Blind said, "Although we're not too far away from the exit, we're still here. We've been sailing here for several months, and we don't know if there's something watching us. Some terrifying existences like to attack people when they let their guard down. If we're targeted by such existences, the situation will be very bad." After hearing Blind Man's words, many people's expressions turned unsightly. Someone asked, "We can't be that unlucky, right?" Blind Man replied, "I hope not." Blind Man's hope didn't come true because they ran into trouble the next day. This time, in the darkness outside the ancient ship, sinister laughter could be heard from time to time. However, no one knew what it was that was laughing at. The most frightening thing was that these unknown existences were constantly shaking the ancient starry sky ship. Blind Man took out the ancient bronze lamp again. This time, however, the lamp failed. Clearly, not all creatures were afraid of Old Blind's bronze lamp. The situation before them had become extremely dangerous. This was especially true after the repeated attacks from the unknown existences had caused many cracks to appear on the ancient ship's defenses. However, if they were to leave, it would take them at least 10 days. Such a long time was enough for the unknown existences to destroy the ancient ship's defenses. If they were to encounter such a situation, many people would die at the hands of those unknown existences. Many people were trembling in fear. Blind Man, you must have some other way, right? We don't want to die, Blind Man. Hurry up and use all your methods. Many people looked at Blind Man. They hoped that Blind Man could continue to display his might and scare off those unknown existences. Blind Man sighed and said, "This time, I really have no other way. I can only hope that the defenses can last a little longer." After hearing Blind Man's words, many people's pupils shrank. If even Blind Man had no other way, what could they do? They could only pray that the defenses wouldn't be broken. Once they were broken, it would be over for them. However, the situation kept developing in a direction that was even worse than before. That was because the defenses could only last for about 3 days. The destruction of the restrictions was already very serious. It was like a piece of porcelain with dense cracks on it. Those defensive restrictions could shatter at any time. Chapter 56-83. What should we do? What should we do? What should we do? The restrictions outside are about to break. Are we really going to die here? I'm not willing to die here. I really don't want to die. I don't want to die here either. I still have a lot of youth ahead of me. My family has a way to transcend epochs. How can I die here? The cabin was in complete chaos. Many people were terrified. They weren't willing to die in this place. But now that they were faced with such a dangerous situation, they had no way to resolve it. Everyone's face was pale. Lin Feng's face was gloomy. The situation was terrible. At that moment, the Emperor Brush said, "Maybe I can strengthen the seals on the ancient ship. That way, the seals will last for a few more days." Everyone's eyes lit up. If they could hold on for a few more days, there might be a chance. Someone said, "Senior, please use your divine ability quickly." The Emperor Brush nodded. Then, it formed a series of mysterious seals with its hands and shot them into the ancient ship. Powerful holy light gushed out from the seals. The holy light started to repair the broken restrictions. The power of the human emperor. Lin Feng was shocked. The holy light was the power of the human emperor. The power of the human emperor was one of the most terrifying powers in this epoch. After all, the human emperor was the supreme being of the human race. It represented the supreme glory of the human race. The power of the human emperor had an extremely powerful restraining effect on many evil creatures. If it was an ordinary evil creature, it would have fled long ago. However, the unknown creatures outside were too terrifying. Therefore, they didn't leave even when faced with the power of the human emperor. They continued to attack the restrictions on the ancient ship. However, the power of the human emperor was extraordinary. Even if the unknown creatures outside were attacking the restrictions on the ancient ship, they still couldn't stop the restrictions from being repaired. Many people were excited to see the restrictions being repaired. Many people became extremely excited. The power of a Run Huang was indeed extraordinary. It could actually repair the broken restrictions so quickly. If the restrictions could be repaired completely, they would definitely be able to last a little longer. However, the power of the human emperor wasn't able to repair the restrictions to 100%. About 60 to 70% of it had been repaired. However, even if he could repair about 60 to 70%, it would still be pretty good. The ancient starry sky ship's defensive restrictions once again blocked the attacks of those unknown existences. Old Blind Man, please increase the speed of the ship to the maximum. Everyone looked at Old Blind. The Old Blind Man nodded and tried to increase the speed of the ancient ship. Because this ancient ship was quite dilapidated, it couldn't travel at its peak speed for a long time. It could easily destroy this ancient ship. However, if it was just traveling at top speed for a few days, there shouldn't be any problems. The ancient ship's speed became faster and faster. In the end, he reached the peak. But those unknown existences outside were still bombarding the ancient starship's defensive spells. The ancient starry sky ship lasted for about 6 days before it couldn't hold on any longer. Although he had held on for 6 more days, however, they were still unable to charge out. Crack, crack. The sound of shattering rang out one after another. Many of the restrictive spells outside the ancient starship were finally severely damaged. Then, a large amount of strange energy poured in. That strange energy made many people's bodies go limp and fall to the ground. Not good. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. The situation was very dangerous. Now, they could only try to break out. Apart from this method, there seemed to be no other way. However, at that moment, Lin Feng saw 3 figures flying in the distance. When he looked carefully, he saw that the one in front was a woman. She was wearing a long white dress and looked very young. She was beautiful and had an otherworldly temperament. She was like a peerless fairy who had fallen from the 9 heavens. 2 white skeletons followed behind the woman. After seeing this strange combination, Lin Feng's expression became extremely shocked. Who exactly was that woman? Why were there 2 skeletons behind her? Wasn't this scene a little too strange? The others clearly saw the woman as well. Some people couldn't help but show a trace of expectation. If those unknown existences went to kill that woman, would they be able to escape from danger? Every man for himself, the devil takes the hindmost. It was normal for them to have such thoughts. Soon, everyone discovered something that made them extremely happy. Because when that woman appeared, those unknown existences seemed to have stopped attacking. Moreover, those unknown existences' auras were quickly moving away. They left. Someone said in disbelief. Lin Feng was also very surprised. Those unknown existences had actually left. For some unknown reason, could it be because of that woman and her 2 companions? After thinking about this, Lin Feng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Who was that woman? That woman and the 2 skeletons behind her seemed to have glanced in the direction of the ancient starry sky ship, then retracted their gaze. In fact, the ancient starry sky ship was still in an invisible state and couldn't be seen with the naked eye. However, that woman and her companions seemed to be able to see it. Thinking of their terrifying cultivation, seeing the invisible ancient starry sky ship didn't seem inconceivable. End of chapter. Chapter 5684. The woman and the 2 white skeletons behind her were very fast. It didn't take long for them to disappear from everyone's sight. After the woman completely disappeared, everyone retracted their gazes. One of the cultivators said, "That woman and those 2 skeletons can't be thinking of passing through the starry sky world, right? They actually swaggered through the starry sky world. It seems like they aren't worried about their own safety at all. I'm really curious as to what realm they are at. Are they not afraid of the dangers here at all? They don't even put the ruler of this place in their eyes?" Another cultivator said, "Since they dared to swagger through the starry sky, it means that they aren't afraid of the ruler of this place. Although I don't know what level they are at, I feel that they are unimaginably strong. They must have some terrifying means. Even the unknown existences that besieged us were forced to retreat. With such a cultivation level, no matter where they go, they can do whatever they want. I wonder if we will be able to have such strength in the future." This was also the thought in everyone's mind. Of course, everyone wanted to have such terrifying strength. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. That woman's cultivation level was terrifying. In the future, Lin Feng would definitely become a strong cultivator like her. Lin Feng was very confident about that. The ancient starry sky ship quickly flew forward. Finally, they successfully left the area covered by the 3rd magnetic field. After leaving this place, everyone's faces showed an expression of relief. They were finally out of danger. Their tense expressions could finally relax a little. The cultivators on the ancient starry sky ship left one after another. It didn't take long for them to leave. Lin Feng bid farewell to Old Blindy and left with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign Holy Emperor. After leaving the starry sky world, Lin Feng summoned the ancient starry sky ship Xianyuan. The four of them boarded the ancient starry sky ship Xianyuan. Although the starry sky world was also extremely dangerous, compared to the area covered by the third magnetic field, it was simply a drop in the ocean. While the ancient starry sky ship Xianyuan was flying in the starry sky world, Lin Feng began to set up an invisibility array formation for the ancient starry sky ship. Before this, Lin Feng had been studying the invisibility array formation. Therefore, he had long memorized the method of setting up this kind of array formation. However, setting up such a large-scale invisibility array formation wasn't an easy task. It required a lot of precious materials. Fortunately, Lin Feng had been collecting all kinds of precious materials over the years. Therefore, Lin Feng was able to collect all these extremely precious materials. Lin Feng spent a month before he finally succeeded in setting up the invisibility array formation. Lin Feng. The invisibility array formation was activated. The ancient starry sky ship Xianyuan disappeared without a trace. The ancient starry sky ship Xianyuan, in fact, the ancient starry sky ship. Lin Feng's eyes Lin Feng's. The ancient starry sky ship Xianyuan actually had the ability to turn invisible. This ability was really terrifying. From now on, the ancient starry sky ship Xianyuan would become even more mysterious. Lin Feng and the others had been tense for a while. Plus, they were also very tired from traveling in the starry sky world. They needed a good rest. When they passed by a life planet, Lin Feng decided to go to the life planet to take a rest. Naturally, no one had any objections. Therefore, they arrived at the life planet. The life planet wasn't particularly big. It could only be regarded as a medium-sized life planet. However, this life planet was very lively because it was the only life planet in this star field. Therefore, many cultivators in this star field would come to this life planet to take a rest. Lin Feng's group of four came to an ancient city and found a good place to stay. Then, they rested for a few days. During these few days, Lin Feng carefully studied the roadmap. There was still a magnetic field ahead. This magnetic field was the most terrifying one. After passing through this magnetic field, they would reach the buried god's star field. Back then, the Emperor Brush hadn't been able to reach the fourth magnetic field. Therefore, the Emperor Brush wasn't particularly clear about the dangers in the fourth magnetic field. After resting for 5 days, Lin Feng and the others' mental and physical states had recovered to their peak. They didn't continue to stay here. The four of them left the life planet. Then, they continued to fly in the direction of the fourth magnetic field. After more than a month, they arrived outside the fourth magnetic field. There were very few people gathered outside the fourth magnetic field. This was because everyone knew that once they passed through the fourth magnetic field, they would reach the area where the epic lost race and some living beings from the Mastermind's world were active. They weren't particularly interested in that area. Unless they wanted to join the epic lost race, some cultivators from the Mastermind's world would want to pass through the fourth magnetic field. There weren't any cultivators who made a living like the old blind man. Therefore, if they wanted to pass through the fourth magnetic field, they could only rely on Lin Feng and the others. End of chapter. Chapter 5685. After Lin Feng and the others entered the fourth magnetic field, they became very cautious. They quickly sailed along the ancient starry sky path in the fourth magnetic field. Previously, whether it was the first, second, or third magnetic field, they could always see some cultivators while sailing along the ancient starry sky path. But after entering the fourth magnetic field, they didn't see any cultivators. It seemed that only Lin Feng and the other three were sailing along the ancient starry sky path. Although they didn't encounter any danger along the way, they didn't dare to be careless. After all, the fourth magnetic field had a reputation. Although they didn't encounter any danger for the time being, it didn't mean that there was no danger. In this place, if they were careless, they might lose their lives. Lin Feng and the others naturally understood this point. The Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship had always been in a stealthy state. After sailing for about a month, Lin Feng and the others encountered a crisis. The existence attacking the Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship was a dense swarm of blood-red insects. Those blood-red insects could discover the invisible Xianyuan ancient starry sky ship. Lin Feng was astonished by this ability. Those blood-red insects directly shrouded the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship and then began to gnaw at the defensive restrictions of the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship. The defensive restrictions of the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship were very powerful, but those blood-red insects were extremely strange. They could devour any array formation restrictions. Lin Feng also knew that he couldn't sit still and watch those blood-red insects devour the defensive restrictions of the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship. At that time, those defensive restrictions would be completely devoured. Lin Feng brought out the heaven fire, and all 8 heaven fires flew out. Then, they swept across the world. The destructive power formed by the heaven fire was too terrifying. After the heaven fire wrapped around those blood-red insects, it started to burn fiercely. A large number of blood-red insects were burned to ashes. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng and the others showed a smile on their faces. However, this smile didn't last long. The faces of Lin Feng and the others suddenly turned ugly, because after a large number of ordinary blood-red insects were burned to death, many mutant insects flew over. These mutated insects were the size of a palm and were blood-red in color. However, there were many golden spots on their bodies. The mutant insect withstood the burning of the heavenly fire. What surprised Lin Feng the most was that there seemed to be too many of them. Generally speaking, mutated breeds were relatively rare. The proportion of mutated breeds in a race was very small. Even if there were mutated species in the race, due to various reasons, mutated species could not appear on a large scale. However, this wasn't the case for the mutated blood-colored insects. These mutated blood-colored insects had formed a large group. With the addition of these mutant insects, it was a terrible thing for Lin Feng and the rest. After all, the mutant insect had withstood the attack of the heavenly fire. Even with the defensive restrictions of the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship, it was unable to resist the devouring of these mutated insects. Damn it! Why are there so many mutated insects? How did they reproduce? Duzu could not help but curse. Lin Feng's expression was extremely ugly. He also wanted to curse out loud. If they couldn't think of a way to break through, Lin Feng estimated that the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship would only be able to last for 6 to 8 hours. By then, the defensive restrictions would no longer be able to hold on. The Emperor Brush said, "There must be a bug king in the swarm. If we can find this bug king and kill it, we will be able to escape," said Lin Feng. "But those insects are terrifying. If we rashly go out and look for the king of the insects, we won't even be able to find the king of the insects, and we'll be surrounded by them." What Lin Feng said was indeed something that required careful consideration. This was because some things were easier said than done. For example, rushing out to find the bug king and then killing it. This method was easier said than done. The Emperor Brush had already considered this point. He nodded and said, "Yes, so now we are in a bit of a dilemma." Lin Feng couldn't help but think of the 4 great insect swarms that he had cultivated. Perhaps he could let the 4 great insect swarms fight against the mutated and blood-colored insects? Then he could hold back the mutated and blood-colored insects? This was the only method that Lin Feng could think of. Lin Feng summoned all 4 great insect swarms. In fact, the number of insects that Lin Feng had cultivated was 4 to 5 times more than the mutated and blood-colored insects in front of them. The 4 great insect swarms quickly fought against the mutated and blood-colored insects. However, what made Lin Feng a little depressed was that the 4 great insect swarms he had cultivated were obviously at a disadvantage against the mutated and blood-colored insects in front of them. Many of the spiritual insects were swallowed up, and the casualties were extremely heavy. The only thing that made Lin Feng feel gratified was that the 4 great insect swarms he had cultivated were holding back the mutated and blood-colored insects for the time being. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng and the other 3's faces lit up. Now they could go and find the Bug King. This was their only chance. If they missed this opportunity, they might not have another one. Lin Feng and the other 3 quickly flew out and searched for the Bug King in the swarm. Lin Feng also summoned the Devil King insect. The Devil King insect was extremely sensitive to other insects. In order to find the Bug King, they would need to use the Devil King insect. Under the Devil King insect's lead, Lin Feng and the other 3 finally saw the Bug King hidden in the swarm. Ordinary blood-colored insects and mutated insects were only the size of a palm. The Bug King's body was actually as big as a small mountain. The Bug King had 18 eyes, and each of them emitted an extremely evil aura. End of chapter. Chapter 5686. Lin Feng's face was filled with murderous intent. The situation was urgent, and there was no time to waste. The four of them joined forces and flew towards the Bug King. Lin Feng took out all 5 of his ancient weapons. The armor of Dominion, the Magic Lotus, Panga's Mark, Stone Man Avatar, Golden Dwarf, and the power of the Holy Bone were all injected into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng's cultivation level reached the pinnacle in an instant. The 5 ancient weapons quickly arrived in front of the Bug King. They attacked the Bug King fiercely. However, at this moment, all 18 eyes of the Bug King shot out a beam of light, each beam containing the power to destroy heaven and earth. 5 of the beams collided with Lin Feng's 5 ancient weapons. They actually sent Lin Feng's 5 ancient weapons flying. When Lin Feng saw that, he was astonished. The Bug King's attack was terrifying. The rest of the lights were moving towards Lin Feng and the others at full speed. Lin Feng quickly took out the Phoenix Shield. He wore the armor of Dominion and held the Phoenix Shield to block the beams of light. The Poison Ancestor also took out a powerful defensive magic treasure. His magic treasure was a treasure umbrella. It was unknown when he obtained this magic treasure, but the treasure mountain floated above him. After the treasure umbrella opened, hundreds of millions of beams of divine light rained down. It protected the Poison Ancestor within. Runes appeared on the surface of the evil Dominator Saint's body. The evil Dominator Saint's body was special because he was transformed from a zombie. In addition, he cultivated some special mystiques. The runes on the surface of his body, combined with his physical body, was the most powerful magic treasure. Needless to say, the Emperor Brush itself was a powerful Dharma treasure. The Emperor Brush's body emitted boundless holy light. The holy light was the best protection. The beams of light collided with Lin Feng and the rest. There was a clanging sound, and the force of the collision cracked the void. Lin Feng and the rest were forced to retreat. Fortunately, Lin Feng and the rest weren't injured. The Bug King was too powerful. It was difficult to kill it through direct combat. Lin Feng looked at Du Zhu and said in a low voice, "Use your poison to attack him." Du Zhu's poison was unparalleled. Now that Du Zhu's cultivation level had increased, the poison in his body was even more powerful. Du Zhu's poison would definitely play an important role in the battle. Although the Insect King's body also contained poison, it was clearly incomparable to the poison in the Poison Ancestor's body. After all, Du Zhu was a living being born from poison. Any living being that wanted to compete with Du Zhu's poison, they would only be humiliating themselves. Large amounts of poison surged out of Du Zhu's body. The venom flew towards the Bug King and instantly enveloped the Bug King. Then, the poison surged into the Bug King's body. The poison entered the Bug King's body. Lin Feng could clearly feel that the Bug King's reaction speed, strength, and so on had decreased. Both of them had dropped by quite a bit. Du Zhu's poison obviously had a great effect on the Bug King. The Bug King was too powerful. Du Zhu's poison couldn't kill it. However, there was no need to kill the Bug King. Its strength had decreased significantly. This was already an excellent situation for Lin Feng and the rest. This was the best opportunity to kill the Bug King. Therefore, Lin Feng and the rest attacked the Bug King once again. This time, the Emperor Brush wrote the word "bind" in the void. When the word was written, rays of divine light intertwined in the void. The divine light transformed into a large net. It was like the net of the heavenly Tao. As the saying went, the net of the heavenly Tao was wide, but not wide. The net of the heavenly Tao enveloped the Bug King within. The Bug King struggled violently. The net of the heavenly Tao seemed to be on the verge of shattering. However, it didn't. Clearly, the net of the heavenly Tao could hold out for a while. Lin Feng and the rest's eyes lit up. Lin Feng activated the 5 ancient weapons and attacked the Bug King. The Bug King waved its huge claws at Lin Feng's ancient weapons. Those claws were the Bug King's strongest weapon. Clang, 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 clang. A series of violent collisions sounded. The Chongqing's claws clashed with Lin Feng's ancient weapons. Those claws weren't destroyed. The Bug King's claws were truly terrifying. However, the evil Dominator Saint had already arrived beside the Bug King. He jumped onto the Bug King's head. Then, he punched the Bug King's head. Bam! Along with a loud sound, a loud noise was heard. The Bug King's head exploded. Dark green liquid splattered out. It was unknown whether it was the Bug King's blood or brain matter. The Bug King went berserk and swept its thick claws at the evil Dominator Saint. The evil Dominator Saint quickly retreated and dodged the Bug King's attack. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. The evil Dominator Saint's attack had caused great damage to the Bug King. Lin Feng seized this rare opportunity and controlled the 5 ancient weapons to attack the Bug King. 5 ancient weapon-grade true treasures slammed into the Bug King's body, causing it to explode. However, after the Bug King's body exploded, a cloud of black gas quickly flew into the distance. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the black gas had wrapped around a 10-centimeter-long bug. Upon seeing that bug, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. That bug was a Bug Queen. The Bug King and Bug Queen were actually using the same body. This was extremely rare. Lin Feng knew how powerful this bug colony was. The reason why it could give birth to so many mutant bugs must have a lot to do with the Bug Queen. Perhaps it was because the Bug Queen had mutated. Therefore, how could Lin Feng let the Bug Queen escape? As long as he could catch the Bug Queen. By then, Lin Feng would be able to cultivate this kind of mutant bug colony. Lin Feng was extremely interested in cultivating bugs. This was because the swarm that was cultivated could play a crucial role in many situations. For example, this time, the 4 bug colonies had played a crucial role. Otherwise, Lin Feng and the rest wouldn't have been able to find and kill the Bug King. Lin Feng quickly chased after it. His speed was simply too fast. He quickly caught up with the Bug Queen. Lin Feng suppressed the Bug Queen and kept it in the time-space. End of chapter. Chapter 5687. Lin Feng was in an extremely good mood after suppressing the queen insect. The mutated and blood-colored insects had lost the command of their insect king. Chaos ensued immediately. Lin Feng ordered the 4 insect swarms to counterattack. The 4 insect swarms fought back crazily, and the mutated and blood-colored insects were defeated. In the end, they dispersed. "We can't stay here for long. Let's leave quickly," Lin Feng said. Everyone nodded. Lin Feng kept the 5 ancient weapons and the 4 insect swarms. Then, he boarded the Xinyuan ancient starship with the Emperor brush. The Xinyuan ancient starship was still in an invisible state. Lin Feng and the rest didn't stop and flew forward quickly. Another month passed. During that month, even though they had encountered some dangers, they hadn't been able to pose a threat to Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng studied the ancient starry sky map carefully. In about a month, they would be able to leave the 4th magnetic field successfully. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. They were finally about to reach the Buried God's starfield. He didn't know what the situation was like in the Buried God's starfield and the 9 Heavens God-burying coffin. 10 days later, there was a magnetic field storm in the 4th magnetic field. The magnetic field storm was the most terrifying storm among the many storms. This kind of storm would form a magnetic field, and the destructive power of this magnetic field was extremely terrifying. Once one was enveloped by the magnetic field, it would be a devastating thing. Lin Feng's expression was solemn. He didn't know what would happen next. The Emperor Brush said gloomily, "Normally, a magnetic field storm wouldn't occur easily in a world enveloped by a magnetic field. However, such a powerful magnetic field storm has occurred. Something unknown must have happened in the 4th magnetic field." Lin Feng and the rest's expressions changed slightly. What kind of unknown change had occurred in the 4th magnetic field? In fact, Lin Feng wasn't very interested in this change. He just wanted to leave the starry sky world enveloped by the 4th magnetic field smoothly. However, things didn't go as planned. Now that they had encountered a magnetic storm, Lin Feng was extremely depressed. The Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship was simply too big of a target. After being shrouded by the magnetic storm, it found it very difficult to move forward. Therefore, Lin Feng's group of 4 left the ancient starship Xinyuan. Lin Feng put away the ancient starship Xianyuan and then took out the hurricane bead. Magnetic storms were also a type of storm, and the hurricane bead should be able to suppress them. Of course, due to the strange nature of the magnetic storm, the hurricane pearl might not be able to completely neutralize the magnetic storm, but even if it could neutralize a part of the power of the magnetic storm, this was already a great help to Lin Feng and the others. The hurricane pearl was activated by Lin Feng. Immediately, Lin Feng's body surged with powerful magic power. The magical power enveloped everyone. Under the protection of the hurricane pearl, the effect of the magnetic storm on Lin Feng's group of 4 had indeed decreased by 40 to 50%. They struggled to pass through the magnetic storm, but the magnetic storm raged more and more fiercely. This made the faces of Lin Feng and the others become more and more ugly. They felt that they had really encountered a big problem. As the magnetic storm's power grew stronger and stronger, it became more and more difficult for them to resist. After holding on for about 5 days in the magnetic storm, Lin Feng and the others finally couldn't hold on any longer. The magnetic storm raged between heaven and earth. It directly engulfed Lin Feng's group of 4. Then, they saw a huge black hole appear in the center of the magnetic storm, just like a space-time black hole. No one knew where that black hole was connected to. The interior of that black hole exuded an incomparably cold aura, as if it was connected to the world of hell. Once swallowed by the black hole, they would probably face death. Lin Feng and the others tried their best to get rid of the black hole's devouring, but they couldn't get rid of it. In the end, the 4 of them were swallowed by the black hole. The sky and earth spun. When they reappeared, they found themselves in a mysterious space. Was this the space contained inside the black hole? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Before they could stand firm, a cultivator came from afar. That cultivator was shrouded in darkness, and no one knew what kind of existence he was. When he saw that cultivator, Lin Feng's face suddenly changed, because that cultivator was very likely to be related to this black hole. Then, was he the master of the 4th magnetic field? Lowly ants, you dare to enter the 4th magnetic field world. All of you deserve to die. The terrifying existence said coldly, and then he opened his big hand and slapped towards Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng and the others felt an invisible force fiercely bombarding them. The 4 of them were all sent flying, and their faces became pale. The power of this existence was simply unimaginable. Lin Feng felt that even someone who had surpassed his cultivation level was far too weak in front of this existence. Could it be that this existence was an expert who had surpassed his cultivation level? When he thought of this, Lin Feng's face became extremely ugly. Obviously, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil revered sage had roughly guessed that this existence's cultivation level was very likely to be an existence who had surpassed his cultivation level. Their faces were also incomparably ugly. No matter how strong Lin Feng and the others were, it was impossible for them to resist an existence who had surpassed their cultivation level. You guys actually survived my attack. It seems like you guys are barely enough for me to devour, said the existence. The terrifying existence said. After he finished speaking, he opened his big hand, and a distorted black vortex appeared in the void. That black vortex seemed to be able to devour everything in the world. Then, a powerful devouring force tried to devour Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng and the others tried their best to resist the devouring force of the vortex, but they couldn't resist it. Their bodies involuntarily flew towards the vortex. That terrifying existence watched all of this with an indifferent expression. To him, devouring Lin Feng and the others was like devouring a few ants. This was the pride of a terrifying existence who had surpassed his cultivation level. Seeing that Lin Feng and the others were about to be devoured. Right at that moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard from afar. When the sound of footsteps could be heard, the distorted vortex in the void instantly collapsed. End of chapter. Chapter 56-88. Lin Feng and the others finally took a deep breath. They had been scared to death a moment before. They had almost been swallowed by the black vortex. If they were really swallowed by the black whirlpool, they would definitely die. Fortunately, the black whirlpool had already collapsed. Lin Feng and the rest looked behind them. When they saw the existence behind them, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. After seeing the cultivator, Lin Feng knew that they wouldn't die this time. This was because the existence that appeared here was none other than the mummified elder. Lin Feng didn't expect the mummified elder to appear in this place. All these years, the mummified elder had been searching for something special. However, Lin Feng didn't know what he was looking for. Lin Feng felt that the thing he was looking for might be related to recovering his strength. Other than that, he might be looking for some lost memories. Of course, this was only Lin Feng's guess. Lin Feng wasn't particularly sure if this was the case. Although Lin Feng and the mummified elder weren't particularly close, at the very least, the mummified elder treated Lin Feng quite well. When Lin Feng was in danger, he would help Lin Feng resolve some of the dangers. After all, the mummified elder was saved by Lin Feng. If it wasn't for Lin Feng, the mummified elder's physical body might have been destroyed by the people in the underworld. If his body was destroyed, he wouldn't be able to escape the calamity no matter how powerful his methods were. "Senior," Lin Feng shouted. Then, he ran to the mummified elder's side with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Holy. The Emperor Brush seemed to be deep in thought after seeing the mummified elder. He seemed to have thought of something and his pupils constricted slightly. However, the Emperor Brush quickly returned to normal. Lin Feng's attention was on the mummified elder. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't notice the change in the Emperor Brush's expression. "Who are you?" This terrifying existence looked at the mummified elder with a gloomy expression. He could feel the terrifying power in the mummified elder's body. It was a power that even he was afraid of. Therefore, he didn't attack the mummified elder immediately. At this moment, Lin Feng's heart wasn't calm at all. Back then, when the mummified old man had just escaped, his strength was also very strong. However, it was obvious that there was no way it could be compared to now. His current strength was truly terrifying. Lin Feng was shocked. This terrifying existence should be an existence that surpassed the transcendence realm. Since the mummified elder was able to break his attack, it meant that they were at the same level. There weren't many transcendence realm experts in this era. He wondered if this mummified old man was an expert from this era. "I want the origin energy," the mummified elder said. His voice was extremely hoarse. After hearing the mummified elder's words, the terrifying existence's gaze turned cold. When he saw the mummified elder coming here, he felt that the mummified elder was probably here for the origin energy. Now that the mummified elder had revealed his purpose, he guessed correctly. Naturally, he couldn't give the origin energy to the mummified elder. Those special origins were the epic origins of the previous epoch. It was a kind of origin energy that surpassed the Tao. One could imagine how powerful the origin energy was for a cultivator's cultivation. Even someone as powerful as this terrifying existence and the mummified old man still needed such an origin source. Furthermore, the origin energy wasn't much. How could this terrifying existence give it to the mummified elder? The terrifying being said coldly, "Those origins belong to me, so you'd better leave. If you don't give it to me, I'll have to take it," the mummified elder said coldly. Then, he sent a palm strike at the terrifying existence. The mummified elder's palm strike didn't fluctuate at all. It was like an old man who was about to die. However, no one dared to underestimate the mummified elder's palm strike. At the mummified elder's level, his attacks had already returned to their original state. He didn't need any powerful divine abilities because each of his attacks contained the power of the laws of heaven and earth. His attacks had even surpassed the Tao. The reason he said this was because the most powerful living being born from the Tao of this era was the Saint Realm. Existences that had surpassed the Saint Realm. Naturally, they had surpassed the Tao. After sensing the mummified elder's terrifying attack, the terrifying existence's expression turned gloomy. He was a top expert, so he could naturally sense how terrifying the mummified elder's attack was. Although the mummified elder's attack was quite terrifying, he didn't retreat. Because this terrifying existence was also powerful enough to face the palm of the mummified old man. He also sent a palm strike at the mummified elder. Along with the sound of the violent collision, there was a loud bang. He and the mummified elder collided fiercely. This terrifying existence was indeed strong. The mummified elder wasn't able to gain any advantage. They were evenly matched. At this moment, the mummified elder looked at Lin Feng and said, "Go inside and take that thing out." When he heard the mummified elder's words, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. Although he didn't know what kind of origin energy was inside, it was something that the mummified elder and this terrifying existence treated with such caution. One could imagine how precious that origin energy was. Perhaps, if he could refine some of that origin energy, he would be able to break through to the Saint Immortal Realm. P.S. Brothers who are out of books can check out Old Mantu's new book, Devouring the Heavens. It's a very good book. End of chapter. Chapter 5689. If he could break through to the Sage Immortal Realm, Lin Feng's combat power would increase tremendously. Although Lin Feng had been searching for the opportunity to break through to the Sage Immortal Realm, he hadn't been able to find it. Now, Lin Feng saw hope. Lin Feng nodded and flew towards the depths of the space with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint. The terrifying existence's face turned extremely gloomy. However, he was held back by the mummified elder. Therefore, he had no way of dealing with Lin Feng and the rest. Lin Feng and the rest arrived at the depths of the space very quickly. There was a huge altar in the depths of the space. At this moment, the altar was shattering continuously. There seemed to be something sealed under the altar. That thing should be the special origin that the mummified elder had mentioned. In the past, the Emperor Brush said that a magnetic field wouldn't cause a magnetic field storm in the starry sky world. However, if a magnetic field storm happened, it must be because of some changes. Now it seems that the changes that happened in the area covered by the fourth magnetic field were caused by the birth of these origins. Crack, crack, crack. At this moment, the altar began to shatter. It didn't take long for the altar to shatter completely. Then, a ball of origin flew out from it. The ball of origin wasn't big. It was only the size of a fist. The eyes of Lin Feng and the rest lit up. Lin Feng kept the ball of origin. Ha ha ha, I finally got this ball of origin. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. When he got this ball of origin, he felt that his realm was ready to move. This meant that this ball of origin could indeed allow Lin Feng to break through. The Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint were all excited. The Emperor Brush was an extremely terrifying existence in the past. However, his cultivation had declined over the years. Although he had regained most of his strength, he was still a distance away from his peak. Lin Feng guessed that the peak of the Emperor Brush was equivalent to an expert who had surpassed his realm. If the Emperor Brush obtained this ball of origin, he might be able to use the power of this ball of origin to raise his cultivation to the quasi-transcendence realm again. As for the Poison Ancestor and the Evil Dominator Saint, they also urgently needed this source. If they could obtain it, they would be able to obtain it. If they could obtain it, their cultivation would be greatly improved. After collecting the ball of origin, Lin Feng, Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Saint quickly returned. However, at this moment, a ball of demonic chi flew out. The ball of demonic chi transformed into the terrifying existence. That ball of demonic chi should be an incarnation condensed by the existence. The clone said coldly, "All of you deserve to die. Die." Then, the Emperor Brush's lips attacked, and the Emperor's Dao. That clone wanted to kill Lin Feng and the others, but it wouldn't be easy. After all, it was only an incarnation. So what if the Dominator Saint was an expert who had surpassed his realm? No matter how strong the incarnation was, there was still a huge gap between it and the Dominator Saint. Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao were also relatively strong. Facing the attack of the incarnation, Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao didn't hold back at all. All of them unleashed their strongest techniques. They engaged in a fierce battle with the incarnation. After dozens of rounds of battle, Lin Feng, Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint worked together to destroy the incarnation. Then, they quickly returned to the mummified elder. This terrifying existence was furious when he saw Lin Feng and the Emperor's Dao. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said coldly, "Return the ball of origin to me." Otherwise, I'll kill all of you no matter where you go." Lin Feng sneered. After obtaining the Ball of Origin, the mummified elder's cultivation increased tremendously. That terrifying existence would definitely flee without a trace. Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao didn't have to worry about this fellow's threat at all. Even if this fellow wanted to find Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao, how difficult would it be to find a single person in this vast world? Moreover, both sides had already formed a grudge. Even if they gave him the Ball of Origin, would he let Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao go? This was simply nonsense. Lin Feng looked at the mummified elder and said, "Senior, we've succeeded." The mummified old man nodded and exchanged a palm strike with the terrifying being. That terrifying existence was sent flying by the shockwave. The mummified elder waved his hand, and a ball of powerful dermic powers surged out and enveloped Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao. Then, they quickly disappeared without a trace. This terrifying existence chased after them quickly. However, he couldn't catch up to Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao. Finally, Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao flew out of the area covered by the fourth magnetic field. The mummified elder looked at Lin Feng and said, "Origin?" Lin Feng knew that it was mainly because of the mummified elder that they were able to obtain these origins this time. Otherwise, they would have died without a burial ground. Therefore, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't take these origins for himself. Of course, even if he wanted to take them for himself, he didn't have the ability to do so. He took out the origins and handed them to the mummified elder. The mummified old man took out the 4 origins. These 4 origins were given to Lin Feng, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Holy respectively. Then, the mummified elder disappeared. After obtaining the origins, Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao were extremely excited. Lin Feng said, "Let's go and find a place to refine these origins." The Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Evil Dominator Holy nodded hurriedly. Lin Feng and the Emperor's Tao left the place and found a desolate planet. There were no living creatures on this planet, nor was there any vegetation. It was a dead planet floating in the void world. They entered the interior of this planet and began to cultivate in seclusion. Lin Feng swallowed that origin and spent a month to completely refine it. Then, an extremely powerful tribulation light surged out from between Lin Feng's eyebrows. Obviously, Lin Feng was about to break through to the Sage Immortal Realm. Chapter 5690. Lin Feng flew out from his seclusion. When Lin Feng came out, he saw that Du Zhu and the rest were still in seclusion. It seemed like Du Zhu and the other 2 would still need some time to come out of seclusion. Lin Feng came to the starry sky world outside. The starry sky world was already filled with lightning. In the next half a year, Lin Feng began his tribulation journey. Lin Feng's tribulation was very powerful. However, Lin Feng's accumulation was very strong. Therefore, this tribulation didn't pose too much of a threat to Lin Feng. All kinds of lightning tribulations came down, but they couldn't destroy Lin Feng. In the end, Lin Feng calmly passed through the lightning tribulation. Lin Feng broke through to the Sage Immortal Realm. Although he was only at the first level of the Sage Immortal Realm, he was still very happy. As long as he could break through to the Sage Immortal Realm, Lin Feng was very happy. Next, the advancement of a few small realms in the Sage Immortal Realm. Although it wasn't too simple, it wasn't as difficult as he had imagined. The most difficult part was the advancement of a large realm. This was because the advancement of a large realm required an extremely powerful opportunity to break through. Without an extremely powerful opportunity, it was basically impossible to break through. If he hadn't met the mummified old man who went to the 4th magnetic field to snatch the special world origin, Lin Feng wouldn't have been able to seize this opportunity to break through to the Sage Immortal Realm. After breaking through to the Sage Immortal Realm, Lin Feng sensed his own combat strength. He felt that his combat strength had indeed increased greatly. In addition, his lifespan had also increased greatly. Lin Feng's lifespan had increased to about 180 million years. This was a very long lifespan. Although he wasn't immortal, such a long lifespan was shocking enough. Of course, the prerequisite was that Lin Feng could survive the end of an era. Many powerful cultivators with long lifespan would eventually die during the end of an era. If he couldn't survive the end of an era, so what if he had a long lifespan? At this moment, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint flew out as well. The aura of the Emperor Brush had undergone an earth-shattering change. Even though it had concealed it well, Lin Feng could still sense the massive changes that had taken place within the Emperor Brush. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel happy for the Emperor Brush after sensing its changes. He wondered if the Emperor Brush had recovered to its peak state. Lin Feng felt that it should be about the same. Even if it hadn't recovered to its peak state, it was at least extremely close to its peak state back then. As for Du Zhu and the Heretic Sovereign Saint, they were about to break through to the Golden Immortal Realm. In the next few months, Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint broke through their tribulations. Lin Feng, on the other hand, went into seclusion to adapt to the power he controlled after his breakthrough. Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint completed their breakthroughs smoothly. However, they hadn't completely refined the power of the origin source after their breakthroughs. Therefore, they took advantage of the opportunity to refine all the origin source. After refining all the origin source, Du Zhu's realm stopped at the 6th heaven of the Golden Immortal Realm. The evil Dominator Saint's realm stopped at the 7th heaven of the Golden Immortal Realm. The benefits that both of them had gained this time were simply too great. At this moment, Lin Feng also came out of seclusion. Lin Feng had completely stabilized his realm after a few months of seclusion. He met up with the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint. Then, they didn't stop and flew towards the depths. At this moment, they were already in the buried God Star region. However, Lin Feng still didn't know where the 9 Heavens God Morning Coffin was. Therefore, Lin Feng wanted to find out more about the specific situation here first. Lin Feng felt that this place was where the Lost Epic Race was active. In addition, there were beings from the Mastermind's world. He was moving around as a human. If he encountered the Lost Epic Race or beings from the Mastermind's world, he might be discovered by those beings. In that case, he might expose himself in advance. Therefore, Lin Feng used the Great Fate technique to change the aura of the 4 of them. Lin Feng changed the aura of the 4 of them to that of the otherworldly beings because there were also some otherworldly beings here. It was just that there were fewer of them. The otherworldly beings had some connections with the Lost Epic Race and the Mastermind's world. Therefore, they wouldn't suspect the otherworldly beings. Lin Feng didn't change their aura to that of the Lost Epic Race cultivators because if they pretended to be from the Lost Epic Race, there might be people from the Lost Epic Race who would recognize the race they pretended to be from. Then, they would be exposed. However, if Lin Feng and the others pretended to be otherworldly beings, due to the 4 universes, there were too many kinds of otherworldly beings. Therefore, they wouldn't know whether they were imposters or not. As long as they imitated the otherworldly being's aura, they could pass off as genuine. After a month, Lin Feng and the others finally saw a life planet. They landed on that life planet. The life planet was full of Lost Epic Race cultivators. In addition to the Lost Epic Race cultivators, Lin Feng also saw many evil spirit warriors. They were a relatively low-level life form in the Mastermind's world. In fact, the higher-level life forms in the Mastermind's world basically didn't come out to move around. After arriving at an ancient city, Lin Feng and the others saw a group of otherworldly beings. Along the way, this was the first time Lin Feng and the others saw otherworldly beings. From the looks of it, otherworldly beings were indeed relatively rare. The otherworldly beings also saw Lin Feng and the others. After seeing Lin Feng and the others, the otherworldly beings became more amiable. Then, more than a dozen otherworldly beings walked towards Lin Feng, the Emperor Brush, Du Zhu, and the Heretic Sovereign Saint. The leading otherworldly being cupped his fists and said, "May I know which universe you are from?" Lin Feng said, "We are from Kunlun." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the otherworldly beings were surprised. The Kunlun universe was the #1 universe. Therefore, the otherworldly beings from the Kunlun universe seemed to have a higher status than other otherworldly beings. Lin Feng asked, "May I know which universe you are from?" The leading otherworldly being replied, "We are from the Aurora universe." After introducing themselves, the otherworldly being invited Lin Feng and the others to have a drink together. Coincidentally, Lin Feng wanted to obtain some information from them, so he casually agreed to the otherworldly being's invitation. Chapter 5691. They found a restaurant and booked a private room. The group entered the private room and ordered some food and wine. Before long, the food and wine were served. The foreign creature in the lead introduced himself. This person was called Zhang Yuan. He was quite talkative. He looked at Lin Feng and asked for Lin Feng's name. Lin Feng still used the alias Ji to introduce himself. Brother Ji, you're so young. Did you only come to this universe recently? Lin Feng shook his head. No, I was born here, said Lin Feng. I see. Zhang Yuan nodded. In fact, there were many otherworldly creatures who were born in the 9 continents universe. They made up 90% of the total otherworldly creatures. There were very few otherworldly creatures who passed through the universe's crystal walls, but their strength was terrifying. Therefore, most of the otherworldly creatures had been living in the 9 continents universe for many years. There were more and more of them, and the strength of their races was also increasing. Of course, overall, there weren't many of them because the otherworldly creatures were stronger. This was common knowledge. The stronger the bloodline, the harder it was to give birth to children. Therefore, the number of otherworldly creatures had always been relatively small. This was the case even now. Zhang Yuan said, Brother Ji, you don't look familiar. You're not an otherworldly creature from this region, right? Lin Feng said, I'm not an otherworldly creature from this star field. We came from another star field. I heard that there are many treasures left behind in this star field from the previous epoch. We wanted to find some great opportunities before the great calamity arrived. So, we took the risk and passed through the magnetic field to come to this star field. Big Brother Zhang, what about you? Did you come from another place as well? Zhang Yuan said, Actually, we've been here for many years. If we calculate the time, it should be around 30 to 40,000 years. Lin Feng said in surprise, It's been so long. You must have obtained a lot of benefits here, right? Were there really many ancient ruins from the previous era and some ancient inheritances here? Even though that's what the outside world is saying, to be honest, we really don't have any confidence. Zhang Yuan said, There are indeed many ancient ruins and inheritances, but they're relatively hidden, and it's not easy for us to find them. Most of the time, it's extremely difficult to find them. Most of the time, we can only slowly gather information. In addition, the lost races of the epoch are incomparably hateful. They've sealed off all information, so our chances of finding out information are greatly reduced. Look, we've been here for tens of thousands of years, but we've only been to 3 ancient historical remains. Lin Feng said, How could this be? Could it be that the lost races of the epoch have sealed off this information so well? Another otherworldly being said, That's right. These damned fellows are quite sinister. They eat meat, but we don't even want to drink a bit of soup. If it wasn't for the fact that we were so weak, we would have killed them long ago. Obviously, the relationship between these foreign beings and the lost races of the epoch was rather subtle. However, there hadn't been too great of a conflict during these years. Small conflicts, however, were unavoidable. The lost races of the epoch didn't go too far. After all, most of the time, the foreign beings and the lost races of the epoch were in a cooperative relationship. It was very normal for allies to have conflicts. Therefore, these small conflicts were tolerable. The reason for these small conflicts was because of the competition for resources and benefits. Both sides tried their best to avoid large-scale conflicts. Lin Feng said, Then they're really hateful. Zhang Yuan said, These lost races of the epoch have always been greedy, and they're never good people. Unfortunately, we have too few otherworldly beings on our side. Even if they're sullen, what can they do? We can't beat them, so we can only keep this sullen feeling in our hearts. Lin Feng said, We'll endure it for now. We'll definitely have a chance to turn things around. Lin Feng paused for a moment, then said, I heard that there's a 9-heaven god mourning coffin here. Have you heard of it? I also heard that there are many fortuitous opportunities inside. Zhang Yuan nodded and said, Of course we've heard of it. There are indeed many fortuitous opportunities inside, but it's currently used by the lost races of the epoch to suppress some experts. However, it's said that there are many places inside the coffin that even the lost races of the epoch haven't been able to explore. Let's not have any extravagant hopes of exploring the nine-heaven god mourning coffin. Those things have no fate with us. Lin Feng asked, then do you know where the nine-heaven god mourning coffin is? It's in the depths of this starry sky world. It's a forbidden area. Many experts of the lost races of the epic patrol that area. If you approach that area, you'll be driven away. If anyone dares to enter that area, they'll be killed without mercy. Lin Feng asked, have you seen the nine-heaven god mourning coffin? Zhang Yuan said, of course. Back then, we saw the nine-heaven god mourning coffin from afar. It's indeed an unimaginably huge treasure. According to rumors, it's a mysterious treasure that can surpass epochs. Even the lost races of the epic don't know where it came from. Right now, the nine-heaven god mourning coffin is lying in the sky, as if it can suppress everything. It's majestic and magnificent. The Black Fog clan and the Black Robe clan are the main ones in control of the nine-heaven god mourning coffin. Apart from them, there are also some experts from the world of the manipulators who control the nine-heaven god mourning coffin together with them. They're the three strongest groups. Apart from them, there are also many smaller groups that have submitted to them. Many people are stationed there. Lin Feng said, in that case, the nine-heaven god mourning coffin is extremely powerful. It's basically impossible to find fortuitous opportunities inside the nine-heaven god mourning coffin. Zhang Yuan said, brother, I advise you to stop having such thoughts. Trying to find fortuitous opportunities inside the nine-heaven god mourning coffin is suicide. It's completely impossible. Lin Feng nodded. He didn't continue talking about the nine-heaven god mourning coffin. After all, if he kept talking about it, it might arouse their suspicion. End of chapter. Chapter 5692. After parting ways with Zhang Yuan and the rest, Lin Feng and the rest went to find a place to stay. They planned to rest for a while and think of a plan during this time because they definitely couldn't go to the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin rashly. If they barged into the Nine Heavens God mourning coffin, they would be courting death. Therefore, they had to think of a feasible plan now. Lin Feng and the rest found a place to stay. The environment of the place was pretty good. After setting up a few soundproof restrictions, they didn't have to worry about the contents of their conversation leaking out. The Emperor Brush said, perhaps we can sow discord between the foreign realm creatures and the lost race of the epoch. Then we can benefit from it. Lin Feng nodded and said, I also thought of this method. However, it's a bit tricky to sow discord between the two sides. After all, the foreign realm creatures are relatively few in number. When they encounter something, they usually choose to bear with it. Even if there are some conflicts, it's difficult for a large-scale battle to break out. The Emperor Brush couldn't help but nod. It wasn't an easy thing to cause a large-scale battle between the foreign realm creatures and the lost race of the epoch. Perhaps they had to think about it at length. However, something unexpected happened on the second day. Lin Feng and the rest didn't expect it to happen. On this day, a few blood-stained cultivators rushed into the ancient city. Those cultivators were actually the foreign realm creatures. They were severely injured. As soon as they entered the ancient city, a few spiritual arrows pierced through the air and shot into their bodies. Then, those spiritual arrows exploded. The bodies of the foreign realm creatures exploded, and they died tragically on the spot. The news of the foreign realm creatures being killed on the street naturally spread like wildfire. Many people were paying attention to this matter. Lin Feng and the rest also heard about this matter. After hearing the news, Lin Feng and the rest quickly went to the place where the foreign realm creatures were killed. When they arrived, they saw that there were already hundreds of foreign realm creatures gathered there. Lin Feng guessed that most of the foreign creatures in this ancient city had already arrived. This ancient city had at least a few million people, but there were only a few hundred foreign creatures. There really weren't that many of them. When he saw Lin Feng and the others arrive, Zhang Yuan said, Brother Ji, you're here too? Lin Feng nodded. He saw some corpses scattered on the ground, as well as some fragments left behind after the arrows exploded. Lin Feng asked, I heard that a few of our brothers were killed. Who did it? Yuan replied, there are some things that we can't talk about here. Let's talk about it when we get back. Zhang Yuan was the leader of all the foreign creatures in this ancient city. Everyone obeyed his orders. Lin Feng nodded. Someone collected the corpses of the foreign creatures and the fragments of the magical arrows. Then, he quickly left the place. After they left, many people were still discussing this matter. Many of the cultivators from the epic lost races were also discussing this matter. On the way back, these foreign creatures' faces were all extremely gloomy. There were fewer foreign creatures to begin with, which was why they were often extremely united. Meanwhile now, several foreign creatures were shot down on the streets, so these foreign creatures were naturally extremely angry. Moreover, these foreign creatures all had vengeful personalities. If they offended the foreign creatures, they would definitely not leave the matter at that. Lin Feng knew this very well. After all, Lin Feng had interacted with them many times, so he was quite familiar with them. Lin Feng and the others followed Zhang Yuan and the others to their residence. They had a huge courtyard here. After arriving, Zhang Yuan asked in a deep voice, "Did you find any clues from the broken arrows?" The reason why Zhang Yuan asked this was because the arrows forged by different forces were often different. These factions usually had some special methods that other factions couldn't imitate. For example, some special formations or special materials could be used to identify these arrows. One of the otherworldly beings replied, "Sir, we've already carefully examined those broken magic arrows. They were all ordinary magic arrows, so we couldn't find any clues." Zhang Yuan's expression became even more gloomy after hearing this. He said, "If that's the case, the enemy also knows that we will investigate the origin of the arrows to find out who the murderer is. That's why they used these ordinary arrows to kill our brothers." Another alien said, "They went out to look for clues about the ancient historical remains, and now they've been killed. Doesn't this mean that they found some clues?" However, those clues were also known by others, so they were attacked. Then, they were injured and fled back to the ancient city. However, they still couldn't escape this calamity and were killed by those people in the ancient city. This possibility was extremely high, and Zhang Yuan couldn't help but nod in agreement with this foreign being's words. At this moment, Zhang Yuan's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He said coldly, "Who do you think did this?" One of the foreign creatures said, "It's hard to say. After all, the factions in this region are very complicated. Anyone could be the culprit." Even though they spoke like this, they actually had some speculations in their hearts. It was because these foreign creatures were relatively powerful, and together with their vengeful nature, ordinary powers definitely didn't dare provoke them. In that case, there were only two powers that dared to provoke these foreign creatures. One was the epic lost race. The other was the experts from the mastermind's world. However, they didn't have any clues. Without any clues, even if the mastermind's world or the epic lost clan were the culprits, they wouldn't admit it. There was a saying, "To catch a thief, take the dirty." If you rashly want to find them without any evidence, they could say that you were slandering them. Even if they killed you, you only had yourself to blame. "Are we just going to watch our brothers die?" Zhang Yuan said with a gloomy expression. Of course, he didn't want to let this matter go. But without any clues, there was nothing he could do. Thinking about this, Zhang Yuan felt very sullen. Adding on the fact that his brothers had died today, he felt even more sullen. At that moment, a voice suddenly resounded. "I might have a way to find out who the murderer is." End of chapter. Chapter 5693. The one who spoke was Lin Feng. In fact, when Lin Feng saw the deaths of the foreign creatures, Lin Feng had already guessed who the culprit could be. If it wasn't the epic lost race, then it had to be someone from the mastermind's world. The foreign creatures were also suspicious of these two powers. However, they had no evidence, so they had no way to deal with these people. Now, Lin Feng had to help them find evidence. When the time came, Lin Feng would sow discord between them. As for the foreign creatures, because of the deaths of a few cultivators, they were very united. Together with the fact that the foreign creatures were extremely united, they definitely wouldn't watch their own kind die in vain. If a fight really broke out, Lin Feng would think of a way to lead the foreign creatures to attack the Nine Heavens God Mourning Coffin. He would take advantage of the chaos to rescue his mother. Of course, before doing that, Lin Feng would ask his father if he had come to save his mother. If his father had come to save his mother, then he would have been able to instigate a war between the lost clans of the Epic and the alien world. In any case, the lost clans of the Epic weren't good people. If his mother hadn't been saved, then he would go and rescue her. At that moment, Lin Feng was rejoicing in other people's misfortune, but on his face, he looked extremely sad. Of course, he couldn't show it on his face. Otherwise, he would become the enemy of these foreign creatures. Zhang Yuan looked at Lin Feng in shock. After all, so many of them couldn't do anything, but Lin Feng actually had a way. Indeed, Zhang Yuan was extremely surprised. Brother Ji, do you really have a way? Zhang Yuan asked anxiously. Lin Feng nodded. That's right. I do have a way to find out who did this. After saying that, Lin Feng summoned the present mirror. When he saw the present mirror, Zhang Yuan's face was filled with shock. He could naturally see that the mirror Lin Feng summoned was extraordinary, but he didn't know where it came from. The other foreign creatures were also trying to guess the origin of Lin Feng's mirror. At that moment, Lin Feng said, I'm sure you've all heard that 3 extremely powerful mirrors have appeared in this epoch. The 3 mirrors are the past mirror, the present mirror, and the future mirror. The past mirror can see what happened in the past. The future mirror can predict what will happen in the future. Of the 3 mirrors, the present mirror is the most extraordinary one. The present mirror can see what happened in the past and predict what will happen in the future. This mirror of mine is the mirror of the present. By using the mirror of the present, we'll be able to see what happened back then. When they heard Lin Feng, they were pleasantly surprised. If what Lin Feng said was true, then they would be happy to see him. They would be able to find clues. Zhang Yuan said excitedly, That's great. Brother Ji, let's activate the present mirror and see what happened in the past. Lin Feng said, If we want to know what happened to these cultivators, we'll need some of their flesh and blood essence. Zhang Yuan nodded and said, Come, give some flesh and blood essence to Brother Ji. Then, one of the cultivators gave some flesh and blood essence to Lin Feng. Lin Feng refined the flesh and blood essence into pure energy, which was all absorbed by the present mirror. After the present mirror absorbed the pure energy, many patterns appeared on the surface of the present mirror. When they saw the patterns on the present mirror, these foreign creatures all gathered in front of the mirror of present time. Then, they looked at the mirror. However, the surface of the present mirror was still covered in patterns, so they couldn't see anything. After waiting for about 15 minutes, some images appeared on the surface of the present mirror. It was a mountain forest. More than 10 cultivators shrouded in darkness were chasing after a few foreign creatures. The foreign creatures who were being chased were precisely the ones who were shot to death before. The foreign creatures were caught, and a great battle broke out between the 2 sides. They were severely injured, and they had to use a secret technique to escape. When they finally made it back to the ancient city, they thought they were safe. However, at that moment, a group of cultivators hiding in the forest outside. He used extremely powerful magical arrows to kill them. Then, the cultivators shrouded in darkness quickly left, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. The Black Fog Tribe. They're cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. Zhang Yuan roared angrily. Zhang Yuan was very experienced and knowledgeable, so he could naturally tell that those people were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. The other foreign creatures could also tell that those people were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. Lin Feng could also tell that those people were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. The tribe's characteristics were too obvious. In fact, Lin Feng hadn't thought that it was the Black Fog Tribe. The cultivators who killed the foreign creatures were cultivators from the Black Fog Tribe. That was exactly what he wanted. However, it was easier said than done to deal with the Black Fog Tribe. The Black Fog Tribe was the most powerful lost epic tribe in the buried god Starfield. Moreover, the Black Fog Tribe was the first force to control the 9 Heavens God Morning Coffin. The main star field controlled by the Black-Robed clan wasn't in this place, but they also had a very powerful force in this place. Needless to say, the cultivators from the behind-the-scenes world were even more powerful. Although their forces here weren't bad, this place wasn't dominated by them. This place was dominated by the Black Fog clan. However, these foreign creatures were vengeful people, so they naturally wouldn't give up on revenge. Sir, the Black Fog Tribe's force here is too great. We can't fight against them, said one of the foreign creatures. The other foreign creatures nodded. Although they were very powerful, they were too few in number compared to the Black Fog tribe cultivators. They were at a great disadvantage. After all, they only had 100 or so people here. How could they fight against so many cultivators from the Black Fog tribe? Moreover, the Black Fog tribe was on the same side as the Black Robe tribe and the cultivators from the world of the Black Hand. Zhang Yuan said, "We are indeed weak, but don't forget that we can go to the Starry Sky world and contact the foreign creatures on other planets. If we unite all the foreign creatures, our force can't be underestimated." P.S. Today's update. Tomorrow's update. End of chapter. Chapter 5694. Everyone thought about it and felt that Zhang Yuan's idea was a good one. Although the number of otherworldly creatures was small, if all of them gathered together, their numbers would still be considerable. In addition, Zhang Yuan belonged to the king clan of the otherworldly creatures. Therefore, Zhang Yuan's status among the otherworldly creatures was relatively high. If Zhang Yuan personally contacted the otherworldly creatures, they would definitely be able to unite when the time came. Therefore, this matter was quickly reached a consensus. Lin Feng said, "This time, we can't just take revenge because the otherworldly creatures snatched away a great opportunity that belonged to us. Originally, they sealed off all kinds of information to prevent us from obtaining these opportunities. We finally obtained these opportunities with great difficulty, but a few of our brothers died because of this matter. This is really too much. Think about all the grievances we've suffered over the years. If we don't take revenge now, when will we? Therefore, not only do we have to take revenge, but we also have to make them pay 10 times the price." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the otherworldly creatures hurriedly nodded. They had indeed been too sullen over the years. Now, Lin Feng's words resonated with everyone. Moreover, these otherworldly creatures had extremely greedy personalities. If there were benefits to be gained, they naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity. Zhang Yuan said, "Brother Ji's suggestion is very good. However, we still need to wait for everyone to gather before we discuss this matter at length." Lin Feng didn't say anything else. He only wanted to take the lead and let the otherworldly creatures deal with the rest. Lin Feng believed that once these otherworldly creatures decided to take action, they wouldn't give up until they had obtained enough benefits. Zhang Yuan brought a few people and left to find the otherworldly creatures' leaders to discuss this matter. Lin Feng and the other three bid farewell and left. After returning to their residence, Du Zhu said excitedly, "It seems like there will be a battle soon." Lin Feng nodded. The Emperor Brush couldn't help but sigh. Lin Feng was really an intelligent person. He was able to play these otherworldly creatures in the palm of his hand. The Emperor Brush naturally didn't have a good impression of these otherworldly creatures. This was because these otherworldly creatures had started countless wars. Because of them, countless people had died tragically. It would be strange if the Emperor Brush had a good impression of them. In the next few days, Lin Feng had been trying to find out some information about his father. However, Lin Feng wasn't able to find out anything about his father. He also tried to find out some information about the Nine Heavens God's coffin. Over these years, the Nine Heavens God's coffin had been relatively peaceful. It was reasonable to say that his father's cultivation was so powerful. If he really came here to rescue his mother, it would definitely cause a big commotion. However, this place had been very peaceful all these years. This meant that his father hadn't been here before. Lin Feng was in a bad mood because he had already learned that his father was going to the buried God's star region. What did this mean, heavens and earth? Could be in trouble, trouble come up. Lin Feng knew that his father was sometimes clear-headed and sometimes muddle-headed because of the seed demon. Could it be that the seed demon had caused his body to be in a terrible condition? Thinking about that, Lin Feng couldn't help but worry. Lin Feng couldn't find out anything about his father. Now, Lin Feng could only take one step at a time. The most important thing now was to rescue his mother before thinking about finding his father. Then, he would find a way to help his father resolve the seed demon technique. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that the seed demon technique was a technique that the royal family of the mastermind world possessed. It was extremely strange, and it wouldn't be easy to resolve the seed demon technique. Lin Feng felt that he might have to capture a few of the royal family of the mastermind world and interrogate them. Perhaps he might be able to find some countermeasures. Lin Feng and the rest remained in seclusion for the rest of the time. They waited for about half a month. Zhang Yuan and the rest returned to the planet. Then, Zhang Yuan had people gather all of the foreign creatures. "Sir, how did the discussion go?" one of the other worldly beings asked. Zhang Yuan said, "I've already contacted the 13 leaders. In a few days, we'll hold an alliance meeting to elect a leader. At the same time, we'll discuss specific countermeasures. I'll give everyone 2 hours to prepare. After 2 hours, we'll set off for the Sirius star." Everyone could understand why an alliance leader would be chosen. After all, even though they were all otherworldly beings, they belonged to different factions. Since they were working together, they naturally had to choose an alliance leader. Everyone dispersed. Some of them went back to pack some things, while others didn't need to pack anything and stayed behind. 2 hours later, everyone set off. 5 days later, they arrived at the Sirius star. The Sirius star was a relatively large planet in the buried god starfield. It was very lively, and there were many otherworldly beings on it. There were about 500 or 600 otherworldly beings on the planet. The leader of these otherworldly beings was called Yin Chong. He had 18 pairs of wings, and his entire body was covered in black scales. His body emitted an extremely evil aura, especially his eyes. They were extremely evil, sinister, and terrifying. Yin Chong was an otherworldly being who had surpassed his cultivation level. It was said that he was an otherworldly being who had arrived in the 9 states universe during the beginning of the new era, which was the era of creation. Back then, he had offended someone he couldn't afford to offend and fled. In the 9 states universe, he gradually became an extremely heaven-defying existence. Yin Chong had practically surpassed an entire era. His lifespan was extremely long. Lin Feng found it hard to believe. Actually, the lifespan of foreign cultivators was extremely long. The lifespan of the otherworldly beings was much longer than that of the cultivators of other races. Besides Yin Chong, there were 2 otherworldly beings who had surpassed their cultivation level. One of them was a demon snake. The foreign creature that the demonic snake turned into was called Lady Thousand Charm. She was charming and alluring, forming a great contrast with the other foreign creatures. This was because most of the otherworldly beings were very ugly. There were some who were quite good-looking, but they were relatively rare. Lady Thousand Charms, on the other hand, was so charming and beautiful that she became the goddess in the hearts of many otherworldly beings. The other otherworldly being who had surpassed his cultivation level was called the Heavenly Ghost Demon King. He was an extremely ugly existence with 72 pairs of evil ghost eyes. No one dared to look him in the eye. It was said that if one looked him in the eye, they would be instantly pulled into hell, never to be reincarnated. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.